Wake Up Call with KB and Andy.
Wake up!
Wake up, will you, pal?
They need a wake-up call.
Someday this country's gonna wake up.
Wake up and smell the coffee.
All right, now this is back-to-back Fridays, guys, where we've had a good Friday. It's a feel-good Friday here on the Wake-Up Call. If you remember last week, the Pacers beat Sacramento. We were feeling good, and then how can you not feel good about what happened at Gamebridge last night? Pacers all over the 76ers. Turner all over Embiid, and we'll talk about it. Pascal Siakam, great, now seemingly as usual. So we'll talk about that. A big weekend in the NFL. Bill Belichick may not get a job. KB, a good morning to you. You were at the game last night. You look well rested. We're ready to go on this Friday.
Thank you. Yes, good Friday morning to you as well. Pair of tickets to Butler, Villanova. We'll give away a little bit later in the show. Thad Matta going to join us at 9. I thought you set the tone on the first trip down the floor last night, Andy. I thought the pressure on the it almost looked like the Sixers just kind of like slow motion into their offense, like, yeah, we got the dude that scored 70. Watch this. We'll wait and get it into him, and, you won't be able to guard him. And Pacers had great ball pressure. Turner did a nice job making it difficult for Embiid to catch it. Next thing you know, it's going the other way. Turner beats Embiid down the floor, gets fouled, 2 foul shots. And I thought that play kind of summed up the entire night of Turner stayed on the floor. He didn't get his first foul until 5 minutes ago in the second quarter.
What's everyone going to complain about this morning?
Nothing.
That's what I was thinking.
No,
There's
was
nothing
beautiful.
to complain about.
Yeah,
Turner didn't get 2 fouls.
Siakam obviously outstanding. Mathurin, I thought, had a key stretch there in the second quarter to kind of push the lead to double digits. And I could not believe, shout out to Mark Boyle for this, I was relieving myself in the restroom there, I believe, second or third quarter, and all of a sudden Mark Boyle goes, Pacers have led from the start. That would be their first wire-to-wire victory of the season. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, there's been 24 wins before tonight. You just would think something.
You think you'd fall into one,
would
right?
have been wire-to-wire. So the first wire-to-wire W of the year for the Pacers.
And boy, they needed it.
Boy, did they need it. And I thought it was a fun night. Tyrese Haliburton getting announced as an all-star starter. All of those things. You beat Embiid. If you want to nitpick, the fact you had to leave your starters kind of late in there when you're playing tonight, maybe not ideal, but again, much, much needed.
Yeah, I mean, I did not expect it. You know what's funny? There's been a couple games on the college side where I've been like, one team hasn't kind of made that big run. And even though the end of the game was the end of the game, I understand that. Weren't you waiting at some point there, at least early in the third quarter when Philly had all their starters in and Embiid and everything else, that they were going to make some sort of run? I mean, that's what I was thinking, right? You're watching that game. You're like, okay, this is
kind of like Denver Tuesday night.
This is great. Mm-hmm. You get up early. You have the great start if you're the Pacers. Things are going your way. Siakam's playing great. Turner didn't get 2 fouls, by breathing on Embiid in the first 35 seconds of the game. And so, you're knocking down shots. You hadn't made any threes the game before. And so, things are going your way. Carlisle's not tossed from the game. I don't know. I just thought I'm thinking Philly's going to make some big run here. It's going to become you're going to lose, damn near at times a 20-point lead. It's going to get down to 2. It's going to become a tie game. Then how do you punch back without Haliburton? Then what do we see with someone like Siakam once the nut-cutting time, if you will, when it gets real close? But the Pacers did enough. I tell you, it's back-to-back Fridays. I said this, the Sacramento win last week, and then this win tonight. Both were needed. I don't want to call them totally surprising, but, the Pacers, for the most part, outplayed Philly last night. Period. Stop. They did.
I would say
it was great.
I'd say the surprising element is just you were in full control, really, from the start of it. I think, to your point, Philly never – I can't recall one time, Andy, where even Carlisle had to take a timeout.
Right.
Like, they've cut it to 7.
It's got to 14, but, it never got to 6 where you had to do something.
From a threatening standpoint, shout out to diehard Sixer fan Zaire Franklin, sitting right next to that bench. Don't think he was too pleased. And all of a sudden, I look behind the Pacers bench at one point last night, about row 15 up. I'm like, is that Zach Edey in the building?
I didn't see this.
Can you imagine sitting behind him?
Was Zach Edey, he was in the building then?
And it looked like about row 13 or 14 for him. I'm like, God, you would think if this was, organized here, maybe you could get him in like a row where no one is immediately behind him. Maybe.
Was the guy behind him or the woman 5'3"?
Right.
Who was behind him? You should have taken a picture.
Yeah, it felt bad for those people behind him. So, a bit of a interesting group last night inside of Gamebridge. Again tonight, it'll be the Suns. They are not coming off a back-to-back. Phoenix, an early 5-point favorite. Again, Tyrese Haliburton will not play in this one. The reevaluation supposed to occur tomorrow. Have you guys driven by the JW yet? I saw Haliburton supposed to be up on that.
Oh, is he on it? No, I was down by there last week, but not this week yet. No,
I've seen it yet.
Don't know if they've started the construction on that, but Haliburton going to be the first actual person that has been put on the JW Marriott. We've obviously had the Lombardi Trophy.
Oh,
We've had the NCAA Tournament bracket.
Like Manny never was on there?
We've had the Borg Warner. I'm trying to think the year it was built. It was right around when the Super Bowl came here.
Right.
So that'll be pretty cool to see that. Do you guys see the All-Star jerseys?
I did see the All-Star jerseys.
I'm a fan of them.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't get people get caught up in what they're going to wear for the All-Star game. It's fine. It's good. Haliburton named the starter.
Theme shooting shirt.
I
think it's cool.
I'm good.
Racing stripes, got a little monument logo on the side of the shorts as well. So, yes, Tyrese Haliburton, he swept it. He swept the fan, media, and coaches as the number one guard for the Eastern Conference. Extremely well-deserved. Cool moment last night, them announcing that at the first time out. Haliburton did have a tweet after the game. I'm an all-star starter, man. I've been sitting here soaking this in like, damn, I wasn't supposed to be here, but I put in the work. It was written. To my peers, the media, and the fans, this can't happen without y'all. Look forward to putting on another show in Indy. Love, Zero with a blue heart.
Did you heart that one?
I
Your
did
love
not,
obsession with Tyrese Haliburton?
I did not like
frame
that. No.
Okay. Yeah, you were there last night. But I just
Zach Edey was
just
there,
overall.
by the way.
Oh yeah.
There's a picture of a guy that was sitting behind him.
I gotta
Brutal
look. At that.
but luckily I'm a Boiler fan, so I didn't mind so much.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Looks
you
like
gotta
half
send
the
that
court
to
is
me.
blocked.
You gotta send that to me.
He was rocking some sunglasses at one point. Who was he? Was he there with Morton or Caleb First? I don't know. I was trying to zoom in and see who the other ones are, but I didn't want to be too creepy.
I mean, now you can do NIL. I mean, one of these companies here has to understand, and NIL-wise, I got to get Zach Edey up in one of the luxury suites. I kind of feel like, what are we doing here? Why is he in section 105?
And unless I totally missed it, part of me was like, why not just throw him on the Jumbotron here?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you would think the
Edey.
National Player of the Year deserves to get a little love in the
Do
building.
some crowd work.
This is like going to
Last night.
I retweeted it on our show account.
I don't know. Does Wrigley have this? I know like Boston does, and I'm sure there's some other ones where there's a seat behind a pole. Where if you go to Boston, you might get the seat that we've got these killer deals on this Yankees
Obstructed
Red
view,
Sox series.
Right.
It's the obstructed view where there's a pole right in front of you. I don't know if Wrigley. I'm thinking of
think
older
Wrigley
stadiums
does.
if Wrigley would have such a thing. But that was basically. Can you imagine showing up? No one's in front of you 5 minutes before tip-off. You're like, oh, this is fantastic. And then the first TV timeout, you're like, is that Zach Edey? Boy, he's walking our way. Oh, my God, he's walking. He's sitting in front of us. I can't see a damn thing.
These pictures are outstanding.
I got to look at it.
Thank you, Nathaniel, for tweeting this pic from Zach Edey in the building last night. For Purdue, it'll be Rutgers coming up on Sunday. I was listening to Rob Blackman, voice of the Boilers, earlier this week. Kind of an interesting note. The RAC, the only place that this Purdue senior class has not won in the Big Ten. They've won in every road gym in the Big Ten Conference, but Rutgers. They'll try to add that Sunday afternoon. Indiana and Butler tomorrow. I think both of those are 3 o'clock tips, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And as Andy said, a couple more head coaching spots filled. Belichick's doing what next year?
Belichick will be joining us Mondays for a radio spot to break down the weekend in the NFL.
Do you think he will do like TV in all seriousness?
I think he'll do something. I mean, he and Vrabel, there's a great chance he and Vrabel are absolutely on the outside looking in. I mean, I think they are on the outside looking in. Do you not? If you believe that, guys like Ben Johnson and Slowick with the Houston Texans, and you still have Gus Bradley, that all these guys probably get
Dan
jobs.
Quinn.
Or Dan Quinn, not Gus Bradley. Sorry. Dan Quinn. I mean, what are we doing here? Yeah. I mean, there are going to be a few guys left out now with what's happened the last couple days, with what Carolina did, even though we didn't talk about Carolina attached to too many of those particular coaches, but Carolina, and then who knows in Atlanta, and I don't know. I mean, part of me feels like Belichick's being passed over. I don't know. Belichick is also really, really stubborn, is he not? And probably stuck in his ways. Look at the end of the New England regime. Stuck in his ways. And so I don't know if you're Atlanta and you're looking at Belichick and he's stuck in his ways and he's not going to do this, that, or the other. I don't know. I guess I understand it. And the NFL community loves Raheem Morris.
The Colts
KB,
love
they
Raheem
love
Morris.
Raheem Morris.
I do think Raheem Morris was the runner-up to Shane Steichen. I know many Colts people that just raved about their interactions with him. Probably Shane's offensive background is what pushed him to the top of that list. But, yeah, Raheem Morris back to Atlanta there, back in the NFC South. So he will go there. And then Dave Canales to the Panthers. Is he the only one crazy enough to work for David Tepper?
Probably. I love they gave him, did you see the length of his contract? They gave him a 6-year deal.
An over-under of Halloween?
They gave him a 6-year deal. And I'm like, usually a coach doesn't even get, sometimes you get the ridiculous ones like John Gruden or whatever. Didn't he get like a 10-year, $100 million deal? But I'm thinking, out of all the places that aren't given a 3 or 4-year deal, it's the Carolina Panthers and David Tepper. By the way, I'm seeing this photo of Zach Edey. I mean, this guy can't see the game, man.
Now, he is a Purdue fan, right? Or at least the one that tweeted at me. Nathaniel's buddy here, he did give a BTFU, I think. Boiler fans.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Know what that stands for, but Zach Edey in the building last night, Zaire Franklin. I do think in all seriousness in regards to Dave Canales to Carolina and even Brian Callahan to Tennessee, those are two organizations saying we have invested, and obviously Carolina invested a ton in trading up for Bryce Young at 1 overall. You don't get that right, you've set back the franchise at least a half a dozen years. So in both of those areas, they're saying, all right, we've got to have a little offensive bias here. We got to have a little quarterback bias. And that's what these two organizations are trying to do. Again, emphasis on trying, because it's not going to work out for everybody. But I do understand going that path for both of those organizations. So 2 openings, Seattle, Washington. And as Andy said, when you look at Belichick, you look at Vrabel, you look at Ben Johnson, Dan Quinn, Ejiro Evero, Aaron Glenn, Bobby Slowick, only 2 of those names are going to come off that list.
What's crazy is we've talked about this from the Vrabel and Belichick standpoint, but some of these good teams, some of these playoff teams, someone like the Detroit Lions, KB, they're going to get to keep one, if not both, of their coordinators. Right? I mean, that's also a big conversation piece. If Dan Campbell, and let's play this out, I don't think he will. I still think Ben Johnson, perhaps Aaron Washington, but if Ben Johnson doesn't get one of these jobs, or you at least get to keep Aaron Glenn, that's better than what we thought a couple weeks ago when Dan Campbell had to absolutely think, hey, I'm going to lose both coordinators. There's a chance you keep both coordinators. So I want to dive into that. You alerted me of this. I totally missed this last night. It's a bad job on me. The Coach of the Year ballot came out, and there's someone not on it. His name is Shane Steichen, so we'll dive into that as well. NFL picks, Greg Rakestraw at 8 o'clock, and like you said, Thad Matta at 9 o'clock, and you want to give away tickets in the 9 o'clock hour to Butler Villanova, right?
Yeah, pair of tickets. Perfect. Can check it out tomorrow at Hinkle. By the way, I totally forgot this, was alerted of it yesterday. Probably something we can get to more when the tournament rolls around. The NIT is going to be at Hinkle this year?
Had no idea. I had no idea, no.
So Madison Square Garden, obviously the rich history there for the NIT. It was in Vegas last year. Now Hinkle this year.
Oh, that's great. We'll have to be involved in that.
So
there we go.
That'll be,
okay.
I think it's the Tuesday and Thursday kind of leading into the Final Four is where they've staggered.
Yeah.
You get the semifinal games on Tuesday and the final on Thursday. I know there's some restructuring, too, of how the NIT is going to work. So I'm sure you can insert maybe some IU jokes here. I don't know. I mean, hell, maybe if Butler doesn't make the tournament, Butler could be in the NIT. But yeah, that is something that we'll certainly watch from a local angle coming up here as we get closer to tournament time. I am Kevin Bowen. He is Andy Sweeney. Mark Dykton is with us on the ones and twos. Good Friday morning to you. Really, honestly, wasn't too bad. Shockingly, I think it's like spitting rain instead of pouring down rain for the first time in 72 hours. So that was the commute in. Not too bad outside of that. Thanks for spending this Friday morning with us. It is the wake-up call. KB and Andy on 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
93.5 and Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here at the Indiana Farmers Coliseum, March 11th and 12th.
All right, your morning checkdown coming up. Reminder, Greg Rakestraw will join us at 8 o'clock, but the story last night, 134-122, really wasn't even that close, basically, for much of the game. Second, third, early fourth quarters. Pacers winners over the Sixers. Indiana now 25-20 on the season. Tons of storylines we can get to. Obviously, Pascal Siakam, triple-double. We'll get to some of his sound coming up next hour, but one of the main storylines is the defense on Joel Embiid. He scored 30. But boy, it took 20 shots. They made him work, and the guy that made him work was Miles Turner. Here's Rick Carlisle on Turner's defense postgame.
I know Embiid had 30 points or whatever it was, but he had to work for everything. 2 or 3 of them were long threes, and then a lot of grinding twos in the free throw line area. And first play of the game, Miles gets the steal. He got 1 or 2 deflections. I mean, those are huge plays.
So there's Carlisle. Turner also speaking postgame on guarding Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I feel like in the past with him, I've got myself in foul trouble a lot just in the beginning of the game, first quarter, first half, had to sit most of the half. So now just, mixing it up, just not giving him a steady diet of one look and just, he's gonna score his points, you know what I mean? But it's just making it harder on him and whatnot. And, like I said, I think it was by committee tonight. I think we had a great game plan for him. Everybody was committed. Everybody had my back. And, sometimes you just stare him in the face and just hoop.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that was a total group effort. Guys making sure those entry passes are difficult for Embiid. Turner did not pick up his first foul until 5 minutes to go in the first half. I'd be willing to bet that has probably never happened in his career against Joel Embiid. And Andy, when you look back to Tuesday night, the missed opportunities in the fourth quarter several times last night, early on. The double to Siakam, you kick it to Turner, boom, hits a three. Aaron Nesmith, boom, hits a three. Both of them shot it much better from behind the arc. And Siakam, outstanding, 26, 13, and 10. Dazzling that stat sheet, his 6th career triple-double. Tonight, 7 o'clock, Kevin Durant and company, the Phoenix Suns in town. They are favored by 5 over the Pacers. All right, college hoops coming up for this weekend. Tomorrow afternoon, the other Assembly Hall in Champaign. We'll see about Kel'el Ware. We know Indiana's not played until Wisconsin. Last Friday night, sounded like he was going to go through some contact at Thursday's practice. He had not done that up until this point, so that'll be something to keep an eye on for tomorrow afternoon. Again, Butler's got Villanova at Hinkle. Very important stretch upcoming for the Bulldogs. Thad Matta going to join us coming up at 9. And then on Sunday, it'll be Purdue traveling to Rutgers. We'll see if Purdue can continue this really offensive outburst against a team that obviously loves to muck it up and keep it ugly there. For Purdue, obviously, an important one just to take care of business. Against a Rutgers team that has not been very good this year, but Andy, in true Rutgers fashion, they do play much, much better at home.
Oh, 2 things on Rutgers. Number one, they have like 3 5-stars coming in next year, don't they? Don't they have like this crazy recruiting class?
Yeah, they got Harper's brother, right?
Yeah, so
Ron Harper Jr.'s
that's number
brother.
one. They're going to have a bunch of 5-stars. Number 2, isn't Rutgers the type of team that you never watch Rutgers, but on a lonely Saturday or Sunday afternoon, especially when football is winding down, it's Rutgers against a good team. And Rutgers, because of the rack, is playing good basketball. Isn't that? I mean, that's Rutgers. And then the
Jersey Mike's, right? The sponsor for the rack.
And then during the week when they play on a Tuesday or a Thursday or a Friday, they lose, and they lose to a scrub. But when they play a good team at the rack on a random Saturday and Sunday, they got a shot. I'm taking Purdue, but again, yeah, I mean, if you told me this one was close, I guess that's kind of the storyline with Rutgers there at home.
Last time out, Rutgers lost by 23 at Illinois, but I don't think any Purdue fan is looking at that thinking, oh boy, this is going to be a breeze.
I'm not worried about Purdue.
Sunday afternoon.
We'll see, though. Rams hiring. Raheem Morris going to the Atlanta Falcons, coming from the Rams. Again, they did Atlanta Belichick and Bobby Slowick twice, and they had Vrabel in the building on Wednesday. They go to Raheem Morris, Seattle and Washington. Now the 2 jobs still open there in the NFL. In the college game, Sharon Moore looks like get that job there following Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. I ask you, the answer is yes. But if you're Moore, you have to take that job. And the reason I say that, it's an elite job. Probably getting smacked by the NCAA pretty hard.
Are they
Michigan?
going to?
I'm leaving that as open-ended. I don't know.
Was that a Harbaugh and move on?
The NCAA didn't do anything to all these college basketball programs, so We shall see, but Harbaugh out more, it looks like. That probably finalized this weekend. And yesterday, the Bucks and Doc Rivers agreeing to the deal. Doc Rivers from TV and ESPN now to the bench there in Milwaukee.
Somebody from TV to the coaching.
Yeah,
that's never happened before.
Well, how about a consultant? Was Jeff Saturday a consultant here as well, and then became the interim? Bit awkward there on that. And setting you up for championship weekend for the NFL again, 3:00 on Sunday. Patrick Mahomes on the road. I saw he hasn't thrown a pick in 5 straight playoff games. Just among the other dazzling stats for Patrick Mahomes, 3.5-point underdog. Be very curious how many times in his career he's been that big of an underdog. It was like 2.5, I think, last week with Buffalo. It does look like Baltimore continues to get healthy. We'll see if Mark Andrews makes his return to the lineup. Would be very important for them. And then the nightcap, it'll be the Lions and the 49ers. That is a 6:30 kick. Deebo Samuel did practice yesterday. His presence, you could say, is vital for the 49ers. They remain a touchdown favorite in that one. We'll give our picks coming up a little bit later in the show. Speaking of the NFL, I don't think the Colts were too happy about the list of Coach of the Year finalists announced by the league yesterday. Should Shane Steichen have been on that? We'll talk about that on the other side.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
It's a good football Friday. It's a feel-good Friday. Hanging out with you in the DriveHubler.com studios. The Wake Up Call, KB and Andy. Reminder, Greg Rakestraw going to join us coming up at 8 o'clock. And then at 9 o'clock, Thad Matta, Butler basketball coach. They have a good one there Saturday against Villanova in Hinkle. We'll have a couple. Is it 2 tickets or 4 tickets? I never can remember. Pair of tickets. A couple tickets that we'll be giving away.
Should be a fun
for that
atmosphere in Hinkle tomorrow.
And you were there. Now, are you going out there this weekend?
No,
I know
no,
you were
sir.
out there. Okay.
No, sir.
It's a quick
but yeah,
no.
We were there to watch the final game of Tony Stubblefield's career, right?
Is that why you went?
That's
you
why I
just
went.
knew, you know.
Uh-huh.
You said Max. This is Stubblefield. It's what's his first name again?
I believe Tony.
Tony.
For some reason, I was thinking, what was the big defensive tackle?
Dana
Was it Dana?
Stubblefield. I almost called him Dana. That's exactly. Look at us. We're in sync
Distant
on this
cousin of
Friday.
him.
If they still had physical tickets, you probably would, laminate that one.
Oh, of course. Maybe get it signed one day.
Mm-hmm.
Hanging up in the man cave. This is when we went to go see not Dana Stubblefield, coach's final game. So a busy show today, 8 o'clock hour. We'll also give our picks for the NFL weekend. I said to KB, we were texting this morning, and at like 6:20, I said, this is a layup in sports radio, okay? Or a dunk, but we'll just lay it up off the glass. And that is, Coach of the Year, NFL honors were released last evening. And we have been talking, quite frankly, just saying it as a matter of fact for how many months, seemingly, at least weeks, that Shane Steichen would be, in that group of 5 coaches that would be nominated for Coach of the Year in the NFL. I sure thought that would be the case. It is not the case. Last night, 5 names out there. Dan Campbell, obviously, with the Lions. Jim Harbaugh with the Ravens. DeMeco Ryans, Texans. Kevin Stefanski, Browns, no surprise there. And Kyle Shanahan with the San Francisco 49ers. Late last night, the Colts tweeted this out with a picture of Shane Steichen smiling. It was difficult for them to find a picture of Shane Steichen
Do you even call that a smile?
Was it? I need to look it up again. Was it more of a No, you're right. It wasn't a smile. It was almost a smile. It was nearly a smirk, I guess. And so they put that up 18 hours ago,
and Shane
I guess.
dialed up the social media department and said, this is BS. Fire
is
this
BS.
out there. I'm not one of the 5
Protect my honor.
finalists.
What did you think?
Well,
what did you think of it? Because Colts fans don't like this.
Let me start here. How do you view Coach of the Year?
Well, I mean, that's the
Because
discussion.
we have done this annually, it feels like, with the Big Ten Coach of the Year. Do you vote for Chris Collins and the heavy overachieving Northwestern Wildcats? Or do you vote for Matt Painter because he's the best coach in the Big Ten and his team over the last couple of years, they continue to, Purdue won the Big Ten by 3 games last year. No one wins the Big Ten by 3 games. So I'm always torn on, even MVP, Andy. How do you view MVP? Do you view MVP literally as the acronym, or do you view MVP as the best player in the league? Because I think they're 2 different things. Most valuable player. Again, I would vote Tyrese Haliburton as one of the 3 or 4 most valuable players. Now, maybe after the Siakam trade, he's not as valuable, but he's still obviously really, really valuable. But if you said best player,
sure,
you might drop Haliburton a little bit further down that list. So I guess let's start there with Coach of the Year. Because
they did both here.
They did both.
Yeah, they did both here
on the
this
5
season.
Finalist list. Now, my first reaction was I have zero issue with Shane Steichen being left off.
Okay.
From the 5 finalists. And I also can sit here and say Colts fans should be thrilled with the job that Shane Steichen did. And you should love what he established accountability-wise, what he has given you offensively, the support he provided Anthony Richardson, and you should feel very good about your head coach entering year 2. But, Andy, my counter to anybody that says Shane Steichen deserves to be on this list would say, who are you taking off?
I know that, and that's the question.
Who are you taking off?
Kyle Shanahan.
San Francisco has dominated every team virtually this season. They have absolutely blown teams out.
I'm laughing because
where was Baltimore last year?
Understandable.
Where was Detroit last year?
Detroit last year was not in the postseason.
So I
that's where they were.
Sit here and say any of those 5 should be taken off. And again, I don't want that to all of a sudden be like, well, that diminishes the job that Shane Steichen has done. Honestly, if you win in Week 18, you're probably on the damn list.
Well, I think there's a part of that. I mean, D'Amico Ryans, he walks into Indianapolis and gets the win in a de facto playoff game, and then he goes and they shine in a playoff game, right? I mean, they do. They shine in a playoff game. I don't know. I was joking with Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I like Kyle Shanahan enough. If you ask me if I had to, I might take him off, but it doesn't matter that much. I kind of feel like this is like my fault. It's like our fault a little bit. I mean, we called Shane Steichen that he was going to be on this list, though, for months, did we not? And we were making the mistake of when we said Stefanski and we said D'Amico Ryans, it was similar, was it not? We said those three because D'Amico Ryans, they had a team that was in the gutter, and they were no longer obviously in the gutter. You see the development and everything else of C.J. Stroud, and then we talked about it from a similar standpoint of the many issues that the Colts had, and Shane Steichen, you got to see KB up close, how much he cleaned up the organization. You mentioned different words for that, but that's what he did. He cleaned up the organization, and then Stefanski won games with, what was it, 4 or 5 quarterbacks? Yeah. Was it 4 at the end?
Yeah.
With Joe Flacco being that 4th quarterback.
It's absurd.
But we forgot about the other guys. We forgot about the guys who are winning 10-plus games, winning their conference. And for someone like John Harbaugh, has perhaps, one of the top 6, 7, 8 teams in the history of the entire NFL, of the history of the NFL, if they can figure things out in the next couple weeks and win a couple games.
Yeah, I think the Baltimore stat was they're the first team in NFL history to beat, it's either 10 or 11 teams with better than 500 records. I mean, they had a lead at, the 2-minute warning of every single game they've been in this season. Again, San Francisco has just throttled teams for the most part here this season. So I had no issue, honestly, whatsoever, in Shane Steichen being left off. I mean, hell, if you want to get technical, he's probably 6 on the list. And, welcome to the nature of the NFL. In a bottom-line business, Andy, a lot of this stuff comes down to one game. And all of a sudden, you are one game away from hosting a home playoff game, and now, on the record of the 2023 season, what does it say? It says the Colts finished 3rd in their division.
Right. It's just, were they 10th in the AFC, whatever?
Right.
Did they end up being 10th or 11th? I think it was 10th in the AFC.
It's crazy how
they went from 7th to 10th in the final game.
And again, this is probably why we love the NFL so much, because it's one game a week, and all of this matters. And there's a part of me sitting there in Cambridge last night thinking, damn, I feel like there should be more people in the building. Like, Joel Embiid just scored 70 the other night. I get Haliburton's not playing, but this is a marquee opponent on a Thursday night, and it just goes to show you again. The NFL is just king, and I think a big, big reason of it is the scarcity of the games. You get one a week, they mean a whole lot, and the wins and losses and the one-week nature to it, I think is what people crave, because there is so much at stake night in and night out. Or I should say weekend and week out.
These games are just going to be massive this weekend, and we'll talk about those coming up at 8:30 as well. Pacers last night, besides the... we haven't even talked too much about Pascal Siakam, and we should with his triple-double. I was going to say, besides Siakam and the defense of Turner, you were there. What stood out to you? And besides Zach Edey completely blocking an entire row from being able to see the game.
Yeah, again, I thought from the start of the game, the first 2 possessions, you made it very difficult for Philly to try to get in their offense on the first trip. I thought it looked like Philly was saying, oh, yeah, we'll just feed our 70-point guy. Watch this. This will be easy. And boom, the Pacers steal it. Turner beats Embiid down the floor. He gets fouled. 2 foul shots. I want to say the next possession, Turner then stripped Embiid on one of those, Embiid trying to do his little kind of rip-through moves. That, to me, just kind of set the tone for you there, and you built that first quarter lead. Obviously, Mathurin had the huge second quarter there, and then you were in full control throughout. Maxey couldn't throw it in the ocean. That was pretty helpful to you as well. What do you make now, Andy? And Tuesday will be the final one of these games. And I think entering the season, we thought the Eastern Conference would play out like it has. There's 3 teams in the East that are above everybody else. You got Boston, you've got Milwaukee, and you've got Philly. The Pacers, after Tuesday night, will not have another game this season against any of those 3 teams. They'll be at Boston Tuesday, and they're done. Now, again, they've played Milwaukee 5 times.
And they'll have good teams on there. Oklahoma City, the Lakers, other teams, right.
Tuesday will be the
Cleveland,
5th and final game with Boston because they played them in the in-season tournament. And last night was the 3rd and final with Philly. Andy, they are 8-4 against those 3 teams. What does that say to you about what this team could do in April?
Well, I think that's the thing. The conversation around them playing well against some of these teams is clear that that's what makes them scary in the postseason, is it not? When you view them, that's what it is to me. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, if you're the Sixers last night, I mean, they keep you, do the Pacers, at arm distance the entire night. We know what's happened at Milwaukee. Now, I guess let me ask you this. Do you expect them, would you like to face Milwaukee once more this season with Doc Rivers? I got thinking about that. So
no.
Because obviously
I'll let the Bucks fear the Pacers when the playoffs.
Well, that was my question, because obviously the Adrian Griffin-led Bucks, the Pacers had their number this season. I mean, that is very much clear. And the way the Pacers played against the Bucks, no doubt had a say into Adrian Griffin no longer being the head coach, among a bunch of other things. The staff unrest, obviously, all the Dame Lillard stuff, their defensive metrics or defensive numbers and everything else. I said this at the beginning. This team now, it's back-to-back Thursday nights. They've went and won. And if you go back as well, remember when they had that mysterious practice that they needed to have? Remember that? They had the practice
after the
back
Clippers game?
back in December.
Probably over a month ago now.
They had lost some games. They had lost 4 in a row. And Carlisle came on here and said, we got to get this practice going. They had a practice. They changed some things up in their rotation. They beat Charlotte. Now, they lost 2 other games, Orlando and Memphis. That's when Ja Morant came back. If you remember, this is getting close to Christmas time. And then they went on a tear where they won 6 in a row. They won like 9 out of 10, and that's where we were really talking about the Pacers ascending until Haliburton. What I am interested in is they got Siakam a practice yesterday. In fact, Mark, would you get clip 6, I believe? Pascal Siakam talked about this. We'll get to that here in a second. But they got a practice in, and listen, I think, last night was a great performance. Tonight's a tough spot. Phoenix is playing really good. They just beat you. It's a back-to-back for you, not for them. And so even if you lose to Phoenix tonight, if you can get Haliburton back for that Memphis game, I'm wondering, Haliburton back, you get perhaps a couple practices under your belt with Siakam, and then you mention, to add to your stat, of the teams at the top of the Eastern Conference that you're not going to have. I understand Boston and New York are coming, but, after that, Sacramento, Charlotte, Houston, Golden State, Charlotte, Toronto, Detroit, Dallas, a bunch of winnable games. I'm wondering, here, hit your mic real quick. I'm wondering if they can replicate that in any way, right?
Yeah, the
what they did
schedule
in December
lightens up so much once you turn the calendar to February and beyond. I will say that last night, especially, too, what, you asked me what also kind of stood out. I was curious when that first double comes to Siakam and he starts to kick it out and you swing it around the horn, do you hit an open shot? Because you didn't do that in the fourth quarter Tuesday against Denver. Look at Miles Turner from 3 last night. Look at Aaron Nesmith from 3 last night. They combined to go 6 of 9. And that is so, so important to making sure that you surround Siakam, a guy that, it's a little throwback. You kind of throw it to him 18 feet away from the basket and he starts to do his little song and dance. That draws attention. You want to space the floor. Turner and Nesmith, absolutely huge last night for you in hitting those shots. I hate even bringing it up again because we did it earlier in the week and we sound like idiots. Did you check out the wardrobe for Tyrese Haliburton last night?
I wrote it down. He had the Harry Potter look.
Okay, so you went with Harry Potter.
Okay,
now,
yeah, what did you go with?
I don't know if Mark Dykton, he would be the one to ask with this. I thought his Tuesday night outfit was a little bit more in this route. I thought last night it was a little bit more Arthur-related than Harry Potter.
Okay.
Tuesday, Mark, the fit for Tyrese Haliburton on Tuesday night, in the Dykton household, are we a Daniel Tiger's neighborhood at all?
We are not.
We are religious watchers in the Bowen household. If you could pull that up, Mark, maybe a picture of, I thought he looked like Daniel Tiger's father. And the more I even thought about it, I thought he maybe looked like the grandpa, who I believe goes by Grand-Père in the show. So if we could get a pic, Mark Dykton.
You guys might have to explain who. You might explain who all these people are to our audience.
We're getting very niche into the young parents that are out there. Mark, I hate to put you on the spot, but if you could somehow pick stitch a Haliburton from Tuesday night with Grand-père from Daniel Tiger's neighborhood.
Okay.
That seems to be the fit, which, again, he's come a long way from Sunday, when Sunday in Phoenix, that was his Double Dare slime trench coat. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That was the neon green. He looked like he was going to a, what do they call it, cosmic bowling? He looked like he was going to cosmic bowling at Woodland.
Bowling. I'm looking at this. So this is, listen, we may need to do a dad dilemma when we get further into maybe even the summer on this.
Mark, I'm shocked, Daniel Tiger's neighborhood.
No, we're Bluey. We're like,
I love Bluey.
Wow.
Bluey's big in the house, and then it's
we
a bunch
also
of other
worship
shows.
Peppa Pig.
See, Peppa Pig, not so much. We're Gabby's Dollhouse is big. That's on Netflix.
Okay.
They're big on that
So
one.
can we get Haliburton to dress up as one of those characters, maybe?
Well, Gabby's Dollhouse is a lot of cats, so he'd
well.
be in cat outfits.
I don't know if we want him rocking that. Do you see the resemblance at all?
He'd make national
I
news.
do.
Am I
do.
on an island here?
No, you're not on an island. Here's the thing. You said Daniel Tiger.
Uh-huh.
In my mind,
Ferocious young lad, Daniel Tiger.
Here's how it went.
Nice kid.
You went Daniel Tiger. My mind said, oh, that must be a children's program. I then was soothed and felt better because Mark started to type. So I'm like, well, Mark doesn't know who this is, and he's got 3 kids, okay? So then I was a little bit confused, and then I looked it up, and I saw Daniel Tiger's neighborhood. But no, I went with something more that I knew. I went with a Harry Potter look simply because of the glasses.
Right.
And what I don't know.
He gave the glasses to McConnell at one point on the sideline.
He did, and the Pacers put that on Instagram and probably Twitter X and everything else. He gave the glasses. He handed them to the right of him to TJ McConnell, and then they put a caption, "Easy to see this dub," something like that. There's not a prescription in those glasses, is there?
Well, is he Robbie Avila from Indiana State? He's going to start rocking the rec specs when he gets back.
Those are clear, right? Those don't have a prescription,
You
or
wipe
do
your
they?
eye and your finger goes through the frames.
Yeah, I didn't know because the meme of McConnell putting them on, it stops there. He doesn't react like, oh wow, I can't see anything because these glasses are so very strong. So that's kind of the journalistic question I want answered. Are those glasses, are they a prescription or are they just fake glass?
I think I know the answer to that one there.
I think I probably
Yesterday's
do
outfit,
as well.
I just thought he was getting ready for tax season. Looks like he was going to do some
It
taxes.
does, yeah. I thought maybe a little substitute teacher vibe as well.
You said that he had the substitute teacher vibe when he had the baggy jeans, which, by the way, the baggy jean look back in style. Always great for bigger guys like me. That's come full circle now from the tight, skinny, slim jeans all the way back.
You get
to
a
the
vote of confidence from Andy Sweeney with that one.
Yeah, thank you. It's been 20 years, but it's finally back.
Shout out to Brian from the shop. My 2-year-old has a talking Daniel Tiger doll in his crib. It goes off in the middle of the night and scares the bleep out of me.
We have stuff like that too. We're just I'm like, what the hell is
Now,
that?
now you're gonna picture Haliburton as Grand-père.
Guys, I need a class. Like, I'm not kidding. From somebody, I need like a full class on.
Just dial up PBS.
Well, I
They
know,
got some great flicks, and I am a huge Daniel Tiger.
Okay.
Again, for those that missed it, Haliburton, all-star starter. He swept it. Number 1 in fan voting for Eastern Conference guards. Number 1 in player. Number 1 in media vote as well. So he will be a starter alongside Giannis, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, and I am kind of curious about this one. That 5th starter is Damian Lillard. Are we good on the Dame time celebration there?
Well,
Are we all good?
I'm wondering, and if I was even wondering this. If they did this a few years ago, remember when they would have captains and they'd pick the entire team?
Right, we are back to East-West here.
Okay, so LeBron and Giannis are the captains.
They are the
whatever.
captains, but no draft,
But
I
no,
guess.
there's no draft. If a couple years ago when there was a draft and all this beef was happening between the Bucks and the Pacers, no way Giannis drafts Haliburton, right?
He can't.
It would be
Which
LeBron, it would be
I'm all
LeBron
about.
James.
Give me the rivalries.
Yeah,
I'm all about
I'm good
it.
with it. Plus, I like to see Haliburton play with LeBron James. Last night, this is not a short clip, but here's Kenny Smith on TNT announcing Haliburton as a starter.
Oh, this is great. From the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Haliburton.
Yes, the league leader in assists.
So there you go. That's it. But that's the announcement.
By the way, you need to
last night.
update your Daniel Tiger thing because Grand-père is the guy who looks like Tyrese Haliburton.
Right. That's what I was saying.
I
At
thought you said
first, I
his
thought
dad.
his father,
Okay.
but then the more I looked
is
at it, I
Grand-père.
thought Grand-père.
Yeah, Grand-père is rocking the hat and everything.
So I'm right on this.
You are right. Yeah.
This is I needed this for myself.
Andy, there'll be a test later. You better be ready.
I'm going to make this pick stitch before the show's over.
I have also said this. It feels like, and I know there is skill to it, but it feels like, the children's programming even on like YouTube. Buddies of mine, a lot of them have kids on YouTube. Like all of this is an untapped resource of money, and it just it feels like you can make a lot of money doing this stuff. I don't know. I have Juan Carlos visits the neighborhood. Daniel and Max asked to play.
Oh, it's a beautiful
Season
show.
6, episode 16.
We do Sesame Street on HBO Max.
As someone that gets allergies,
reruns.
I love that Daniel has allergies in an episode. So that's nice when you get into the spring months here.
Do you try to say, Daddy's like Daniel Tiger? And
I kind of sniffle, and Rosie's like, oh, yeah, that's what happens when the flowers bud. And I'm like, oh, yes, exactly. Let's give away a pair of Butler tickets. If you just lived through 3 minutes of Daniel Tiger, it's the least we can do here. How about this, Andy Sweeney?
Okay, let's go.
317-239-1070. Can you name the coach of Butler's opponent tomorrow?
Oh, I can. That's a good question.
Okay?
It's a good question.
So you got to know Butler's opponent, and you also have to be able to name their head coach. Mark Dykton will field these calls here, 317-239-1070. We've got 2 pair, by the way, to give away. We'll do one now. We'll do the other one coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Thad Matta at 9. Andy Sweeney, Indiana, is this do or die tomorrow, 3 o'clock? At Illinois. Is it even dumb to even say that?
Yeah, and I was listening. Listen, Kel'el Ware, just to give an update, yesterday he didn't do anything. I was looking it up. He didn't do anything in practice.
He hadn't done anything to that point, right? And the plan was to do something?
I think it's today is a big day for Kel'el Ware. Now, we had a little bit of sound. We can play it later on. And Mike Woodson, so he hasn't done very much at all here this week. I don't know. If Ware doesn't play, they don't have a chance, right? I mean, you just don't feel that way. I mean, you're just looking. If you're an Indiana fan, you're just hoping for that special game, right? And you almost had it at times against Kansas. You never had it against Purdue a couple weeks ago. You just need that game where Renew goes crazy and a bunch of shots that just never go in. But, I mean, I don't think they're going to beat Illinois. No, I don't. It's
and Terrence Shannon is still playing, right?
He's still playing. It was kind of gross. He got a standing ovation when he came back a couple years ago. It's kind of an odd look there. But they're coming off a loss, right? They lost to Northwestern a couple days ago.
So, does that matter at all? Indiana's had more time off.
It's grasping at straws just because I just don't believe in Indiana's roster. But it's like, I mean, to me, if I'm an IU fan, can you win this game? Can you get Xavier Johnson competing like he used to? And the answer to both of those is probably no.
Oh, my gosh. Mark, did Andy Stair really win these tickets? God, I grew up with Zach Stair, absolute legend there.
He said hi. He said, you know who he is.
I do. Yeah, shout out to Andy. Shout out to Zach, legend.
The Stair brothers crushing it? Is that what you're saying?
Fullback at Clay Junior High, Zach Stair. Great shooter if you leave him open in the corner. Butler Villanova, the head coach, Andy Sweeney of the Wildcats.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were asking me. Now I totally forgot.
Oh, God. You said you knew it.
I did know
why I
it.
asked you.
Hang on.
Do you know your planets?
Kyle Neptune.
I was going to say.
Goodness. Kyle Neptune.
In my opinion, that sucks.
How does the order go?
Sorry,
Have they
I
changed the
apologize.
order of the planets on me? Is it Uranus, Neptune, Pluto? I could have sworn that they changed the
I'm not doing
ending.
this for a radio bit. Is Uranus still a planet?
Yes, Uranus has always been a planet.
Well, I thought one of the planets
Pluto
dropped
was
off.
the one that was on the outs for a while.
There
Is
you
that
go.
the order? Do I have the right order?
What was it?
Uranus, Neptune, Pluto?
Boy, we're really going to hammer the numbers here with Daniel Tiger and solar system
I could have
talk.
sworn it's Friday at 7:55. I could have sworn we had maybe
Go Mercury, Venus,
changed the
Earth,
You're
Mars,
gonna give us the whole order?
Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune.
There you go.
What? So Pluto or no? You just stopped.
Okay, Pluto's there. Pluto's after Neptune.
Greg Rakestraw is going to save us next. Over under two
He's
and a
a
half.
valedictorian.
Over under 2.5 tournament teams from the state of Indiana when we get to Selection Sunday in a little over a month. We'll toss that to Rake next.
If you're talking about it,
Jim Harbaugh.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Greg Rakestraw going to join us here in just a second. Reminder, Thad Matta, Butler basketball head coach. He'll join us coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll have 2 more tickets to give away to Butler and the Kyle Neptune-led Villanova basketball team that is coming up tomorrow. So we'll have 2 tickets to give away in the 9 o'clock hour. And we had confirmation Pluto is not a planet, so we figured all these things out here on this.
BS. I learned it in my science book in elementary school. It's still planet in my book.
By the way, I sent you guys that math problem from yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I don't understand what was going on there. It was all multiplication, and then there's one addition, and the addition made 0 sense.
Well, honestly, you know who we should have sent it to?
To Greg Rakestraw.
I believe. Greg Rakestraw, were you the valedictorian at Lanesville?
He was. We talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. That is Pluto, not a planet. Myself, a valedictorian, yes. Those are currently believed facts across most of Western civilization.
Now, Rake, I know this was early in our drive. I don't know. I'm guessing around Tipton maybe is when we had this conversation. But refresh my memory. Your college choice was University of Indianapolis. Was there, and nothing against University of Indianapolis at all, was there any thought to maybe trying to, I don't know, could we have played, tennis at an Ivy League school?
No, not from an academic standpoint, from a talent standpoint.
Got it.
I was a Division II walk-on. I was recruited by a couple of the other programs in the GLVC for tennis. And let's just say they were much closer to the back end of the standings than Indy was, who won it my freshman year. And then we finished as like the runner-up or third place like the next 2 or 3 years I was in the league. So, no, academics first, tennis second or third at good old Indy.
And I saw that Djokovic lost last night, right? The Australian Open in the semifinals. I feel like that never happens.
Correct. That is the first time he has lost in a semifinal or a championship. So there were other tournaments when he was younger that he did not make it that far, but that is rare and perhaps a sign of mortality for the Joker.
Yeah, when I wake up, there's always the journalists, the analysts, KB, that are live tweeting the Australian Open at 3 a.m. Like, God bless you. At least somebody is. Greg Rakestraw joining us here as normal, 8 o'clock spot on a Friday, joins us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Greg, you look at last night, a feel-good night, and boy, they needed one for the Pacers. Pascal Siakam, a triple-double, just the 6th time he's done that in his career, had a double-double earlier in the week for the Pacers. In your opinion, early returns on what you've seen with Siakam.
I think it's a fantastic trade for the Pacers. And the hope is that obviously he's here long term. But even if not, Bruce Brown was really on a 1-year contract. You had an option for a 2nd year. Jordan Laura wasn't a piece that was going to factor into you. You've got those 3 first-round draft picks are all going to be like back half of the first-round picks. You've got your young core in place. You're not looking to really add pieces to that. The Pacers got to steal. I think, frankly, also it's Toronto realizing they had Pascal Siakam for 3 more months in their contract. There was not much they're going to get for him
right
at that point. And so it kind of goes both ways. I think he's going to be tremendous. And frankly, I felt that way after watching the Denver game on Tuesday. We're just like, hey, this is the defending NBA champs. And without your best player, and a guy we now know is an all-star starter, you hung with them. You had a chance to win the game late. The Nuggets are really good, and the Pacers, without their best player, were step for step with them. So Pascal Siakam's a tremendous pickup. Pacers didn't have to pay much in terms of mortgage to get him. And Haliburton's now thought to be one of the best 5 to 10 players in the league. Life's good to be an Indiana Pacers fan right now.
He is Greg Rakestraw. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Rake, every couple of weeks I throw you this question. I think the number is adjusted a little bit. Over under 2.5 teams from the state of Indiana that will be in the men's NCAA tournament.
Let's go over. Purdue, I think, is solidly in the field at this point.
You sure?
I hot take. I think they're going to make the tournament. Indiana State, I think, will make it. Again, I think either they win the league or I think there is a chance they could get it as an at-large.
How many losses do they have to play with? Like, do they have a loss or 2, or do they need to run the table?
One. I think 1, they're okay. A second loss, and probably, and again, it's all about whom that loss might be. if that loss is Drake is at home, that's tough from a league championship standpoint. He's already lost in Des Moines, but that's not a bad loss. If you were to lose to Valpo, who's not good, or Illinois State, who's not good, or Evansville, who's kind of fallen off the map since they got into Valley play, that's not good. Obviously, everything's quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, et cetera. I think if they get to Arch Madness, like, say, 18-2 in league play, they have a shot of getting in at large bid. So let's say their chances are better than 50%. And, again, I think that potentially Butler could do enough in the Big East to get in. All the other teams that we thought maybe they're playing for for a league championship, I'm not sure that's going to happen. So let's say over, and that's probably being a bit hopeful.
Greg Rakestraw with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Before we get to some high school stuff and everything else, and I wanted to bring up one item on Zach Edey. Just looking at Indiana State, and Greg, I don't know, I hope this doesn't happen, but if they don't win the conference tournament and they have to be an at-large, we always get into the conversation of, do you want the 8th team out of the SEC, Mississippi State, who's 16-13, or do you want a team that's lost, 4 games in Indiana State? Do you think, someone like the Big Ten or ACC being so down that helps Indiana State, or do you think it'll be, if they don't win the conference tournament, it'll be kind of the same conversation that we have every year with the mid-major and some team who's like 10th in the SEC?
It helps because it's at least a conversation, but we all know that everything is slanted in favor of the Power 6 conferences. Everything. I mean, my goodness, the mid-majors and low majors, for a 15-year period, if you won your regular season league but didn't win your tournament, at least you had a bid to the NIT. Now that's gone away as well. So everything is, hey, here's an invitation for your league champion to play in our tournament and maybe make a monumental upset. For the rest of you, piss off. That's the way the system is. The system is set up. Okay, at least there's a conversation this year because of some of the other bigger leagues being down. And to answer your original question, absolutely, give me the 28-4 team from what is typically a one-bid league. I would much rather see that team than the seventh or eighth place team from any league. Give me the little guy, because to me that's what the first weekend of March Madness is about. But again, you and I both know that's la la land. That doesn't exist in reality.
I think your piss off is going to be something that might be on the old hotkeys here in the studio, in the DriveHuber.com studio.
Rake, when you drop the piss off, I thought back to your Reds comment from a few years ago. For those that might have missed it,
in a normal scenario, I would love to see the Padres do well. I want them to die like dogs to ensure that the Reds make the playoffs.
Oh man.
Well, I am nothing if not to provide content for you on a Friday morning. If I get both you laughing audibly, I've done my job.
That is beautiful. Some people are like, well, Rick Carlisle gave you guys a shout-out at his press conference. Yeah, hell with that. We got Rake on Fridays, man. What else do we need? He is Greg Rakestraw. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Rake, could you compare the DePaul job to the Butler job for me? Big East, obviously Chicago and Indy, certainly different, but different cities than maybe some of those Big East teams in the markets that they're in. Do you view the DePaul job as any sort of level of attraction? Because there have been a rumor or two of a Dusty May or a Josh Schertz from Indiana State.
The DePaul job should be far more attractive than it is. But if you look, Northwestern has been better, still not a frequent visitor to the NCAA tournament. But for years, any program in that city has been, man, you just recruit Chicago, you're going to be okay.
Right.
Well, I've had more connections in the recent past with, say, the UIC program, which is at a different level than DePaul. Obviously, UIC is at a higher level in terms of a conference, because of being the Missouri Valley now. But at the same time, they've not won when it's been tough to recruit Chicago kids for any of those schools. So, yes, DePaul should be a better job than it should be. Yes, you are going to recruit to what next year is at least the 5th best basketball conference in the country. But there's just been nothing in terms of success for for that program for the last 20, 30 years. If you want to compare DePaul and Butler, Butler obviously has been on a bit of a slide the last 5 or 6 years. They're seemingly heading back in the right direction this year, but you've at least got, not just the national championship runs now 13 and 14 years ago. You got Sweet 16s that are not that long ago for Butler. You've got nothing like that for DePaul. So that job should be a lot more attractive than it is. But at the same time, man, that's a hike because you are unquestionably the worst team in a power league. It's kind of like recruiting to Vanderbilt in football. Good luck with that.
2 NCAA tournament appearances for DePaul since 1992. None since 04. Dave Lato got them there in 03-04. That's been it, that job. Opening up here earlier this week. Again, Greg Rakestraw is with us here, ISC, and obviously a ton of other things on his resume. Rake, is this the most wide open we've seen for a boys basketball in a while?
It is. And I mean, maybe a good example of that is the game that I had on Wednesday night. Lawrence North is now 16-0. They're number 1 in the coaches poll, number 2 in the AP poll. Sagarin has them at number 3. They played a New Pal team that was up their starting point guard in Moses Haynes, and New Pal led for a large chunk of that game. LN ended up winning 57-48, pulled away in the last minute or two. By the way, Julius Gizzi was tremendous for New Pal, another member of this insanely good junior class that we have in this state. He had 36 in the loss. But LN is good. Fishers is really good. They play each other February the 13th, but they're not unbeatable. And again, both those teams are in sectionals where, it's not a guarantee you get out of your sectional. I mean, my goodness, LN's the county champ. Well, there's the city champ in Attucks in their sectional, and there's Cathedral, who's lost twice, that's in their sectional. And there's North Central, who LN just beat by 2 last Friday night, that's also in their sectional. I'll see North Central and Warren Central tonight on ISC and my NDTV. So sectional 10 is ridiculous. Sectional 8 is the same as it always is for the Hamilton County teams because Westfield has lost once. Noblesville has lost twice. So it's not a guarantee that Fishers gets out of their sectional either. So there is more parity this year. While there are still 2 undefeated teams as we're having this conversation, there is not the generationally good team like Ben Davis, like we had a year ago. It is significantly more wide open, even with a couple of really good teams that are atop the list.
What game did you say you have tonight, Rick?
North Central and Warren Central. So girls-boys doubleheader. Girls game at 6, boys game to follow. The boys game you can see on my NDTV. Both games streamed at iscsportsnetwork.com.
Well, NCWC action for Greg Rakestraw here on this Friday night. Rake, as always, man, love our conversations. Thank you, and have a great weekend.
And just to specify, I would never tell the 2 of you to piss off. Just wanted to make sure that was good and clear.
I needed to hear that. I was nervous. Thank you, Rake.
See you guys.
That's Greg Rakestraw right there.
I didn't want to do this to even make Greg. I didn't want to enrage him even more, KB.
I want them to die like dogs. I forgot about that, Mark.
Well, didn't the Reds and the Padres that year? They both missed the playoffs.
Yes, Yep.
I think that was the last time the Reds had a chance at the playoffs.
The funny thing is the Padres spent all the money and didn't make the playoffs. The Reds spent none of the money, didn't make the playoffs. The Reds are sitting back thinking, we did the right thing. We saved all this money, and we had the same fate, if you will, of the Padres. 2 things coming from that conversation. I didn't want to enrage, and I'm kidding, Greg, anymore. But when they expand the NCAA tournament, Greg Sankey's talked about it, the SEC commissioner. That doesn't mean that, Indiana State has a better chance of making it. Even if, they probably do, but you know what I mean. Them expanding the NCAA tournament in the next couple years is so bottom feeders or middle-of-the-road teams like a Mississippi State or an NC State make the tournament.
Indiana would be on the bubble right now.
Yeah, it'd be more for IU. We'd be talking about more than Indiana State, even if they lost 4 or 5 games this season. Right now, they're at 3 losses. And the other thing, and I've heard it talked about, DeCourcy was on with Jake yesterday, and he said the same thing. Dusty May would be an idiot to take the DePaul job.
Yeah,
dude, just sit back and let a better job come to you.
I was going to say, I don't, I asked the question. I don't think it's anywhere near the same stratosphere comparing DePaul and Butler.
Yeah, they could call. That wouldn't be crazy.
Now, the Indiana State conversation, I think, is an interesting one. Again, they are 17-3, 8-1 in the MoVal. Joe Lunardi earlier this week had him as his 5th team out. And I do think right now they are actually leading the Missouri Valley, but let's just play the at-large devil's advocate here for a second. Do you view that as like it'd be better for them to beat the Drakes and the Belmonts of their conference? Those are the other teams kind of right with them with similar resumes. Or do you view that as you don't want any bad losses? Like, I'm kind of torn on, like, what is the mid-major resume that looks the best to the committee?
Isn't their loss record matters more than their wins, right?
Should that be the case?
Well, that is the case. Should it be the case? That's the great argument of the NCAA tournament and the back end of the NCAA tournament.
Again, their losses,
but you
at
know what
Alabama, at Michigan State, and at Drake.
Yeah, and Alabama doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt. That's a top 25 team. You really wish you played 35 minutes against Michigan State. Maybe 33 minutes they would probably feel against Michigan State. Michigan State's not a good team this season. Maybe if you would have won that game, perhaps that helps you a little bit just because of the name recognition. I don't know. I mean, this is the great debate in college basketball. What do you want to see? Do you want to see the mid-major with a ton of wins that you haven't seen but a couple losses? Or do you want to see, and I keep picking on Mississippi State, or do you want to see someone out of the SEC or Big Ten that has 14 losses? And then when those teams make a run, Michigan made a run a couple years ago.
Syracuse is a 10 seed some of those years.
South Carolina
sure.
and Frank Martin, they
yeah.
go to the Final Four. And so then those teams make a run and say, well, of course they went, Frank Martin and South Carolina, they went through the gauntlet of the SEC. So no matter who wins or loses, there's a pivot that can be taken that can, analyze why it was good that team made it or the other team didn't make it.
I'm currently posting probably like 4-ish articles a week to our website, 1075 The Fan, in regards to the Colts. And just, they're pretty typical, like, off-season stuff. I do one every year where I always am like, okay, let's evaluate Chris Ballard through X amount of seasons. Let's evaluate, obviously it was Frank Reich now turning into Shane Steichen. I'll post the Steichen one coming up on Monday, but always do a GM kind of head coach evaluation at the end of the season. I tweeted this yesterday, Andy.
Okay.
How would you evaluate Chris Ballard through 7 seasons?
Okay. You know what the fan base thinks, so.
There is 149 replies to that tweet. Not to get into, like, Twitter analytics, but
that's pretty good.
That is like a shocking number.
That's a good number, yeah.
For a tweet. I said to bring it up, I'm like, damn, that is a polarizing topic.
Well, our web people then are going to come to you today after the show and say, from now on, you're doing Chris Ballard takes for the entire offseason. I mean, Ballard is the number one story with the Colts besides Anthony Richardson. All right, let me say this. Besides, like, the team who's developing, who's injured, who's not, free agent stuff, or free agents that come in, Chris Ballard is the overriding consistent top topic.
Yeah.
Is he not with the Colts? What he's done, what he's not done. Now it's going to be who he's signed, who has he not signed. I mean, listen, if Anthony Richardson doesn't work out for whatever reason, whether that be play or injury, that's going to be a topic. I mean, come on, a bunch of your readers there, 75% of them probably, 3 out of 4 don't want to see Chris Ballard to be the general manager. And that number might even be low. It might be much higher than that.
And just to give like kind of a slight tease on what my thoughts were with the article, again, I try to lay out, what would you consider things that have been good? What would you consider things that have been bad? I would say on the good or the win front, I would say he finally took a swing. That's very critical in the last 12 months. You took that swing at quarterback, and the early returns seem to be positive. And I think he's found an answer at left tackle, and that is huge.
Agreed.
There have not been enough answers at the premium positions. That's where I would label wins.
And a cheap version for a couple years,
sure,
a cheap version at left
tackle. That's the added
tackle.
bonus, the fact that Bernard Ryman's making, what is he? Is he even making $1 million? I think it's just a little bit over $1 million.
It's the biggest deal in the NFL is when you can, it's like, why did Seattle win? Several years ago, because they were paying Russell Wilson a 5th-round contract, and they could load up on money on defense.
The losses, or the to be determined, I guess, you can label it however you would like. Not enough return on those defensive investments. I mean, they have drafted tons of defenders in rounds 1, 2, and 3. Kind of a combo off that would be the youth plan in the secondary. The reason why the Colts just had a youth move in the secondary is because Ballard has largely failed over the course of the first handful of years. You don't go youth move, like, you don't trade Stephon Gilmore if you're a ready-made playoff team. Like Gilmore wants to stay here, and you want to keep him here. And I guess that kind of dives right into the last comment. You're still waiting on January. if you just looked at the resume.
Yeah, that's what sticks out.
The record is 54-60-1. The playoff appearance, 2 in 7 years. The playoff wins, 1 in 7 years, and the no division titles. So again, that's in an article up on 107.5 The Fan. I did it was interesting just how much the reaction flooded it, and the majority would fall into the critical. You certainly had an audience that said, no, Andrew Luck retired, and that set, the organization back, and, he gets ripped, or it's too harsh, however you want to describe it. But for the most part, it was certainly, he should be very fortunate to be getting now an 8th year at it.
Well, I mean, not only an 8th year at it, he's getting, I would imagine this would be the final shot. I say that not having any inside information. I mean, KB, they go, when you say youth movement, I mean, he gets yet another chance, not only at quarterback, but to build the roster, to build the team. Does he not? I mean, we're talking about offensive linemen. We're talking about left tackles. Hell, we're talking about Shane Steichen and the coaching staff. We're talking about the quarterback position. You're talking about Michael Pittman. If he gets paid long-term, if that's a 4-year deal for $90 million that you end up paying Michael Pittman on top of what you gave Jonathan Taylor, on top of, I would imagine Ballard's here in a couple years. He's paying Anthony Richardson. They always pay before. Now, you're not getting to the very end of that deal. You're not playing out that entire rookie contract. So it's not only he gets another year, he's getting an 8th year. He's getting more than that because he is replacing and bringing a bunch of young players and will be paying a bunch of guys this offseason to be on your team for years down the road. It's very much a future thing. It's 2, 3, 4 years down the road, even more so the next season, to me at least.
Coming up at the 9 o'clock hour, Thad Matta going to join us ahead of Butler and Nova. That is tomorrow afternoon at Hinkle. Checker out for Butler and Nova. The pair of tickets we'll give away that we did give away already, and we'll give another pair away. Those are in the blue section.
Who's the guy that won?
So
the guy
Andy,
you knew, the brother?
Andy, rock blue.
Okay.
Not you, Andy. The other Andy that won. Mark Dykton for our next caller coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Tell them to wear blue. Coming up on Saturday afternoon.
I also want some PBS programming hot takes from them, too.
Oh, my Daniel Tigers neighborhood.
Mark is carrying on a conversation
we are big
on Twitter
Miss
right
Rachel
now.
fans. I saw someone tweet that at us.
Is that
as
a
well.
YouTube show?
Yes,
Okay, see, we've avoided that one as well.
I think she rose to prominence during COVID. Yeah, her voice is a little. Yeah, I don't mind leaving the room when that pops on, but tell you what, she draws the eyes and the ears of Rosie and Max Bowen, and that's probably all that matters.
I'm telling you, there's so much money to be made doing these children's programs on YouTube. I don't have the time nor the creativity, I don't think, to do it. But there's so
angry how much money
I watch them and think,
know.
can you imagine what their lives are like once they stop on pressing record? Like, wait, did we just film that?
Yeah, but also it's like I couldn't do that if I were in some sort of get up and I'm supposed to talk to a 7-year-old
and make it pop out of the ground or something like that.
I mean, it's literally like 40-minute videos of just like nothing happening, and they're like 10 million viewers. I'm like, what? How? What are they doing?
Can you imagine?
It's all about the beats and the colors, right? It's all about the music, beats, and the colors.
Oh, yeah, to be catchy. But, like, I'm giving a take on Shane Steichen at 9 a.m., and then I'm like, well, guys, I got to get out of here because at 11 a.m. we're filming how to spell apple.
Yeah, I've got YouTube. A new beat in Banana that's going to make this. Who's was it Gwen Stefani?
Yeah.
She do Banana?
Bananas.
Gwen Stefani get a remix there for that.
She's not a holler back girl, Kev.
No.
Who's she married to now? It's Blake Shelton, right?
Uh-huh.
She was married to Rosdale and Bush because we hear the Bush commercials. They're coming to town in June or July.
And they're together on The Voice?
I think so, or they used to be.
I think she stepped away now. I think, or maybe he did. One of them did.
One of them stepped away.
A lot of voices clapping for the Pacers last night.
We're really spraying all fields.
Let's go into a morning check down here.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here at the Indiana Farmers Coliseum, March 11th and 12th.
All right, last night at Gamebridge, nice win, big win. Boy, they needed it. 134-122, your final. Pacers over the Sixers. Pacers had lost 5 out of 6, so they got off the schneid, as they would say, 25-20 on the year. Post-game, here's head coach Rick Carlisle on the win.
Had the right approach to the game. We had a great attitude toward this game, and we made it our kind of game, and that made a big difference. Siakam was obviously tremendous. 6th triple-double in his career, first obviously as a Pacer. You get a power forward with a triple-double, it's pretty special.
And I would start with Rick's early comments there. I thought the plan on Embiid was tremendous. 31-7 stands out, but I thought he had to work for it. I thought early on you did a nice job of just not letting him assert his dominance. There's been so many games over the years in these matchups where Turner's on the bench before the first time out because he's in foul trouble. Last night, Miles did not get his first foul until 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. I thought that was huge. Him and Aaron Nesmith hit open threes off of Siakam. That was vital as well. Tyrese Maxey struggled from behind the arc. And as you said, Andy, much, much needed. The first wire-to-wire win of the Pacers season. They're back in action tonight. No arrest at all. It is the Phoenix Suns, favored by 5 in that one. Phoenix did not play last night. So Pacers on a back-to-back. Phoenix is not. All right, shifting gears to this weekend from a hoop standpoint. Indiana at Illinois. That'll be a 3 o'clock tip tomorrow from the other Assembly Hall. Still getting word on if Kel'el Ware will give it a go or not. Had not done, I think, any physical contact in practice up until yesterday. So Mike Woodson pretty non-committal on if Kel'el Ware will be back. It is shocking to think, Andy, if they don't get this one, they will enter February with 2 quad 1 or 2 wins this season. 2.
I thought the number would have been lower. I don't mind saying it. Yeah, okay.
Ohio State at home. And
that's been a quad 2 at times this season.
And I think, as crazy as it sounds, I thought I read maybe at Michigan still qualifies as one of those.
Okay, I need to look that up because have you ever looked at a good site for fans to go to is Bracketologist. Have you ever been to that site?
No, I've not.
Yeah, okay, so it's a nice site. You can go to any team. It's got
I like nice sites.
It's got a nice setup, and you can go down to a particular team. I don't want to go down too far. I was going to find Notre Dame and make fun of you. Like Indiana is 100, and it shows you their net rating, their KenPom rating,
that is a good-looking site.
Their BPI, and then all their numbers. And right now, they have Indiana as 0-6 in quad 1. The games you mentioned would actually be quad 2
right,
wins.
I'm combining 1 and 2
and this
here.
This is where it gets frustrating is, that Ohio State was a quad win a couple weeks ago. And then Ohio State went, if you remember, and lost on the road to Michigan and Juwan Howard. And then they dropped out of a quad 1, so it's a quad 2, which it's not that big of a deal unless you're a bubble team. And Indiana's not even a bubble team. No, 10 of their wins are quad 3 or quad 4 wins this season.
Did not appreciate the Notre Dame slander. We're trying to beat Boston College tomorrow.
Is that who it is?
Yeah. We're going to get back on track here.
Big crowd there. I'm sure there's a couple tickets available for Boston College Notre Dame basketball.
Butler Nova tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And a lot of quad 1 opportunities coming up for Butler here in the next month. Thad Matta going to join us in 30 minutes. And Purdue at Rutgers. Zach Edey in the building last night at Gamebridge Fieldhouse.
Blocking views.
Blocking views.
Blocking everything.
Yeah, it looks like, we're getting pictures from people that took some selfies with them. I mean, come on.
Good for them.
The guy's 7'4". Pacers should have slotted him in that top row of the lower level. Or, hell, put him on the Jumbotron.
Put him in a suite.
I don't even think he was on the Jumbotron last night. Purdue, Rob Blackman shared this earlier in the week, the voice of the Boilers. They've won in the senior class has won in every Big Ten venue but Rutgers. So that'll be 1 o'clock. Fox National game coming up on Sunday for Matt Painter's bunch.
Yeah, a couple different news and notes around the NFL and college football. The big news of the NFL later last night. What time was this? Maybe 8, 9 o'clock or so. Raheem Morris hired as head coach there in Atlanta. He goes from the Rams to the Falcons, head coach there. Now, did Atlanta interview Belichick and Houston offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick twice. They had also Mike Vrabel, in the building on Wednesday, but they go with Raheem Morris there. Sharon Moore is expected to get the job at Michigan as, of course, Jim Harbaugh moving to the NFL and the Chargers a couple days ago, and the Milwaukee Bucks and Doc Rivers agreeing to a deal. I'm not sure when his first game that he'll be on the bench coaching will be, but that will be soon as they agreed or close to agreeing to a deal later last night.
All right, on the other side, how about some championship picks? NFL championship games, AFC, NFC. Ravens, 3.5-point favorite. 49ers, touchdown favorites. We'll give that to you here coming up on the other side. Should Shane Steichen have been a Coach of the Year candidate? We'll hit on that as well. Thad Matta joins us in 30.
Let Bill Estes put you behind the wheel. It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Appreciate Greg Rakestraw joining us last segment. If you missed that or any of our Pacer conversation, Colts conversation, Shane Steichen not on the ballot there for Coach of the Year, any of that, check out the podcast center at 1075thefan.com. You can also download the app, stream us live wherever you may like. And Thad Matta, Butler basketball head coach, is going to join us in the 9 o'clock hour. Let's do this. All three of us here, we're going to give you our picks for what's going to happen in the NFL weekend. Boy, these Sunday games are just going to have monster ratings, KB. The ratings have been a monster for these playoffs. In these two games, it's going to be wild. Do you have a strong... I don't know who you're going with here. Do you have a strong opinion on any of these games? Like one of them more than another? Anything?
I feel like I have a pretty strong opinion on where my heart is.
Okay.
But the Deebo Samuel... him back at practice yesterday, I think is just such a huge storyline. I know I threw these numbers earlier in the week at you. I think it's worth repeating. Deebo Samuel was hurt back in October. Hairline fracture, shoulder injury. San Francisco scored 17 in that game. They scored 17 in each of the next 2 weeks without him. So without him, they've been a 17-point football team. Andy, these are the numbers of points scored by the 49ers with Deebo Samuel in the lineup this season. They started off with 30, 30, 30, 35, 42, 34, 27, 21, 42, 28, 46, 19, and 27. You think he matters?
Yeah, just a little bit.
So
He's a good player,
that
man.
injury, I think, is absolutely huge. And if we've seen the Lions struggle, they've struggled defending the pass. You know, Baker Mayfield had a nice outing. Matthew Stafford, of course. Nick Mullins kind of lit him up late in the year a couple times. So that is where I have concern. I still think 7's a lot, though. I actually am going to go with Detroit. I will fully admit a lot of that is with the heart, though. And I do think Deebo, being a little banged up, could be the difference.
Yeah, we may be the same here. I'm going with the Lions to win the game outright.
Now, I thought you hated the Lions earlier this week.
Where'd all that Lions slander go?
It's being. I don't hate the Lions. I like Dan Campbell. I don't like that. And it's going to happen now. We're going to have 2 weeks leading up to the damn Super Bowl that it's going to be pushed down my throat how I have to feel good for the Lion fan that has suffered. And I just don't need to feel that for the fan base. No offense. It's fine. The guys can cry.
Isn't that what sports is kind of about?
And everything else. But
giving a hug to the lovable losing fan?
No, I want to win.
So you hate the Chiefs because they always win, and you hate the Lions because they always lose?
That's how you get all bases covered. That's how you get them. No, here's why I don't like
mediocrity.
The Chiefs. Here's why.
Embrace Jeff Fisher's 8-8 football teams.
I'm embracing that mustache. That's the only thing I'm embracing with Jeff Fisher. No, I like the Lions and I like the story, but they're going to make the Super Bowl. And it's now going to be everything about how there's all these old people that have never seen the Lions do this, that, or the other. And you're going to walk in here after 2 weeks of it, and you're going to say enough of it, okay? I'm listen, in the next couple weeks, it's absolutely going to happen. I don't know. There's just something about the Lions. I just think, and I know their pass defense is not very good. I guess don't feel like Brock Purdy's going to the Super Bowl. I don't know. I mean, this is kind of the game I feel like Kyle Shanahan loses. I'll go with the Lions. And then the other game, I respect the hell out of what the Chiefs have done. 6 straight years going to the AFC Championship game is ridiculous. In fact, my mind, I am probably more conflicted on this game because the things I don't like with the Chiefs are simple. Taylor Swift swag surfing with Brittany Mahomes. That's I don't need it. I'm done with it. That's why I'm pivoting against them. But here's my other biggest problem. Lamar Jackson. What are NFL analysts going to what's Twitter going to do if Lamar wins this and goes to the Super Bowl? Because I've said this, that the Baltimore Raven Lamar Jackson conversation is the laziest in the NFL. Anytime he does something wrong, there's a few people that blow it out of proportion, and they're kind of asses about it. And then on the other side, there's all these people acting like that people are bagging on Lamar Jackson at all times. When Lamar Jackson is going to win his second NFL MVP, KB, and he is widely been praised this season. And by the way, and I'll get to him here in a second because I need to pull him up out of my email, the numbers from this Ravens team and what they've done and what they've accomplished this season has been remarkable. My head tells me to take the Chiefs. I'm going to go with my heart, and I'm going to say actually the Baltimore Ravens win this game. And some of the things the Chiefs just can't do, the Ravens defense should be able to control nice parts of that game. Ravens-Lions, that's going to be our Super Bowl in a couple weeks.
Mark Dykton?
My heading into the season was 49ers were going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, so I'd be kind of foolish to walk away from them. But my heart says Lions. Even as a Bears fan, I do have compassion for fans that have been through the thick and the thin, as Lions
Spoken
fans
like a true
have.
Cubs fan.
Yes,
there.
exactly.
By the way, shout out to Tucker Barnhart in the building last night.
So I will not be upset if the Lions pull this off, but I'm going to go with my preseason Super Bowl pick for the NFC and go with the 49ers.
I also like the Ravens, Andy, and I really feel pretty confident about that.
Really? Okay.
I know it's Mahomes. He's getting 3.5. Kevin, you're an idiot. Have you watched NFL football for the last 5 years?
Yeah, this ain't Buffalo.
I get all of that, but yeah, I just think Baltimore's a different breed, and I think they're very well. I think they're the most complete team left. I think they're getting healthy at the right time with Marlon Humphrey potentially back, their top corner, Mark Andrews, who is, whatever. He is the safety blanket to Lamar Jackson. I think that is huge as well. Their run game, I think, has the element to play some keep away from Mahomes. And I thought the Kansas City wideouts were better in Buffalo. I've watched them too often this year to believe they're going to be better again for a second straight week in a hostile environment, on the road, in a magnitude game like this. So I really hope Monday morning I don't sound like an idiot. I do, I guess, often on Monday mornings, but I feel pretty confident about Baltimore winning that one. Financially, at the start of the playoffs, I did go Baltimore over San Fran for my exact Super Bowl bet once I saw the Cowboys fading very quickly. But I'm gonna deviate off that. I'm gonna go Lions-Ravens here.
What'd you get that at?
I got that at plus 350, maybe.
Well,
okay. Let me
one that I like, and I bet this, and it was a lower number, and I can't remember if it was 45 or 55.5. It was something like that. Somebody may be able to correct me. Lamar Jackson rushing yards over 65.5. You're going to have to pay the money. It's minus 130. That might be something that I play this weekend. Quickly, I want to give you a couple of these. This is per NFL research.
Give me the Ravens, by the way.
2020. There you go. The 2023 Ravens.
God, no one going Chiefs.
The 1985 Bears and the 1972 Dolphins are the only teams in the Super Bowl era to score 25-plus points per game while leading the NFL in rushing offense and scoring defense, okay? That's pretty good. Also, the 23 Baltimore Ravens and the 2007 New England Patriots are the only teams in NFL history with a plus 100-point differential versus playoff teams. Last one. Michael David Smith put this on Twitter a couple days ago. Just, what the Ravens have done. The Ravens have beat the 14-5 Lions by 32. They beat the 13-5 49ers by 14. They beat the Dolphins by 37, the Browns by 25. They beat the Texans by 16 and 24. They beat the Jags by 16, the Seahawks by 34, the Bengals by 14. They have 9 2+ touchdown wins over teams with winning records is unprecedented in NFL history. How about that? How about that?
Again, this goes back to our Shane Steichen, not on the Coach of the Year finalist ballot. I have no issue with Shane being left off. Like, you look at John Harbaugh, you look at Kyle Shanahan, you look at Kevin Stefanski, you look at DeMeco Ryans, you look at Dan Campbell. To me, they all have stronger cases. That doesn't mean that Shane didn't do a very good job this season, and I think Colts fans should be super encouraged about him moving forward, but I got no issue with that. By the way, Mark, I was dead wrong. I got that at plus 600.
Ooh.
Ravens
to
beat the 49ers.
That's very nice.
In the Super Bowl.
Look
God,
at you.
I could really use a win.
Who's got it better than you? Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert and Kevin Bowen. My goodness.
What were better odds? That or the Pacers 45 wins or more? Is that what you got there?
You had that higher. You had that 40,
45. 8? Yeah, 40. No, I had 45 plus wins.
45.
That was at plus 320. That's the one I was thinking of, Mark, of the one that was around those lines. By the way, did you guys see when we did the show yesterday, Embiid's over-under was 36.5.
Yeah.
Someone texted me it closed at 32.5.
Oh, did it really?
You see how many points he had last night?
He had 31, did he not? Or did he have 32?
Does Vegas know things?
Well, I mean, it's not Vegas. There were a couple dudes there that put a lot of. Did Mattress Max make a bet or something last night on the under for Joel Embiid? Again, I told you to take the over with that, so it tells you what I know. I mean, he was close.
Justin says, no way the NFL doesn't let T Swift go to the Super Bowl.
Well, I know that's the thing.
Are you
man.
there on that?
Oh, I don't believe in all the there's a script to everything, but
you did hint at it with the referee assignments.
The referee assignment. The referee assignment says take the home team. You get Mahomes. You get some points. You can. I don't know if it's at 3 or 3.5. If you have to tease it a half point, so be it. I thought with the Steichen, just real quick. I thought you were going to go with Steichen wasn't a top 5, on the ballot for Coach of the Year. And if you look at the Ravens, the Colts went into Baltimore and beat the Ravens, and they made them look human. If you look at the other losses, by the Ravens, like the Colts have. I guess here's what I'm saying: the Colts had the best win against the Ravens all year. That's the way I view it. The Ravens kind of gave it away against Cleveland, and that was a high-scoring game. And then the last game of the year didn't matter. They didn't play Lamar Jackson, and the Steelers did beat them earlier in the year, 17-10. I just kind of feel like
the NFL cycle. It just oftentimes we react to these one games and think they're these grand takeaways from one game, and I think over the course of 17 or trends of a month or 6 games, you were there. That was a great performance by the Colts. It also was a historic kicking performance, unlike anything you've ever seen. If Matt Gay misses one field goal, you lose that game. So
But they had the best win against the Ravens. That's what I'm trying to say all year. And this is a historic team. If the Ravens win the Super Bowl, this is going to be one of the top 6-7 teams in NFL history.
And again, nothing to take away from the Colts. There is context around that. Didn't the Ravens have like 7 dudes ruled out on Friday?
They had more than that.
Incredibly banged up.
They had a bunch of defensive guys. You had a bunch of 50-yard field goals. You had, who was it? Zaire Franklin, who probably had a pass interference at the end. EJ Speed. I mean, I get it. I'm just saying, hey, the Colts did a fine thing. Let them have it.
Tyrese Haliburton and Grand Pair, they could not look more alike.
Yeah, that is a great pull by you.
The Tuesday night wardrobe for Mr. Haliburton, Grand Pair from Daniel Tiger's neighborhood. That's up on Twitter.
Do you think you would find that funny?
1070.
You think you'd laugh at that?
I would like to think so.
I mean, we
should try and get Haliburton on around the All-Star game. Remember we had him on last year?
Uh-huh.
He was driving to the airport to go to Salt Lake City for last year's All-Star game.
I think us and everybody else trying to get a little piece of Haliburton, get ready for the All-Star game.
Seems to be a popular man.
Everybody in America is trying to talk to Tyrese Haliburton leading up to this game.
He is an All-Star starter. A lot to recap from the Pacers' big win last night. We'll do that on the other side. Thad Matta and a pair of tickets to Butler Nova coming up in 15.
While high school sports
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard that promo. JMV's going to have Vogel, Frank Vogel, coming up at 4 o'clock. What do you make of that?
I like
What
that.
would you ask Frank Vogel right now, head coach of the Phoenix Suns?
I do not know
in
Frank
town?
Vogel very well at all, but I've heard great things
He's
about
a good
him.
coach.
And when it's all said and done, you're going to look at like the players Frank Vogel's coached.
It's going to be pretty good.
It's absurd, that
he's
list.
He's got 3 Hall of Famers right now. He's got at least 2 Hall of Famers and Bradley Beal on this team in town tonight. So
Again, that'll be 7 o'clock. You surprised at all? The Suns favored by 5?
No, I'm not. I mean, the Suns, you still have no Tyrese Haliburton. The Pacers are on a back-to-back.
Are really competitive with them on Sunday.
Right.
In Phoenix.
Oh, yeah. It's down to the end. I mean, I don't know. I look at 5 actually as a fine number. I mean, it's a 2-possession game, basically, is what you're saying. I'll be honest, I have no idea what to expect from the Pacers tonight. I thought last night their energy was great throughout. They had a great start. I know Carlisle's come on here on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock and has lamented at times how they've had slow starts. I know a couple different players were quoted as that's something they really stressed. They got to practice with Siakam, but don't you feel like, can you do this twice? Siakam, great last night. Turner, great last night. Buddy knocks down some threes. I don't know. I mean, there's just no complaints coming from last night's game. Do you expect a similar performance? I mean, I don't expect them to let down. I just wonder if they can have that energy that they had the entire night last night, because that's what they had last night. They were a step ahead of Philly seemingly every possession. That's how I felt.
From a local angle, Eric Gordon questionable for tonight with a wrist injury. Yeah, I thought from the jump last night, they were just simply the aggressor, really. I thought almost in a way, Andy, it was a good thing Philly had the 70-point night for Embiid last outing, because I got the feeling from Philly early on, it was like, yeah, we got the 70-point dude. We'll just slowly get it to him, and we'll get into our offense, and it'll be like every other meeting between Embiid and the Pacers and Embiid and Turner. And the Pacers just had more urgency, and they were able to, we talked about this in the opening hour, at first possession, they got pressure on the passer. I forget if it was Maxey or Patrick Beverly or who it was, but whoever tried to throw it into Embiid, they were crowded. Turner did a great job of kind of tipping the ball away, and then boom, you're starting a fast break. Turner beats Embiid down the floor. He gets fouled. 2 foul shots. Next trip down the floor, Turner strips Embiid, and that just set the tone. For the first time in a long time, you did not have bigs, i.e. Turner, or multiple bigs, because there's been games where seemingly everybody got 5 fouls guarding Embiid. You just didn't get in foul trouble. So you could stick to your game plan, your big guys could play confident, and then you hit shots, which I know that sounds simple, but you didn't do that in the fourth quarter against Denver. Aaron Nesmith, Miles Turner, probably the 2 biggest culprits in missing open threes the other night. Andy, they were 6 of 9 from behind the arc last night.
Sometimes it's just really simple. It comes down to making shots, and when Haliburton goes out, the issue that they have had in some of these games, many of these games, is just not playing the Pacers style. Their defense can get better, it's fine, but this team's not going to be about defense, right? It's not going to be predicated on defense. We've talked a lot about it, and last night, I tweeted this out. It was, they had 73 at halftime. I think they end up with 134, and that's with latter parts of the game not feeling too much game pressure from Philly. I mean, if you just look at 109, 110, 115, 105, 109, that's just not going to win a lot of games for the Pacers. I know everyone's been harping on the defense, but last night was an old school Pacer night. Siakam, good offensive output. Nesmith, Turner, Nembhard had 19. Buddy hits a couple threes. It's exactly
Mathurin
what
had
you
that key
need.
stretch in the second quarter to kind of expand it a little bit.
Yeah,
Again,
exactly
a couple
what
other
you need.
notes from last night. First wire-to-wire win of the season. Pacers now 8-4 on the year against the top 3 teams in the East. That would be Boston, Philly, and Milwaukee. They'll play one final game against those 3 teams. That's the nationally televised Tuesday game. That's the game that Haliburton honestly talked about a lot in the preseason of, TNT, and what is it, January 29th or 30th? I forget the exact.
It's Tuesday the 30th, yeah.
He had circled that date on his calendar, and obviously the Pacers have been on national TV a little bit more with the in-season tournament this season, but after Tuesday, there are still some notable games the rest of the way, but the schedule on paper really lightens up. Of course, you could probably have a Pacers fan that would say, well, Kevin, they've lost to those teams. They beat the good teams, but they lose too often to the bad teams. Obviously, that'll have to turn around here if the Pacers indeed want to continue to push up in the East. Right now, they are the 6th seed.
I want you to gloat for a second. You ready for this? So Haliburton, all-star starter, that was announced last night. Great for him. He tweeted out. I would imagine he'll have some quotes and talk about it. They don't want to put him in front of a microphone while they're figuring out this hamstring injury and everything else. You know who's not happy? This should make Kevin Bowen feel very good about himself. Who is not happy? And I say Haliburton. I'm saying this with a smile. New York Knicks fans not happy. Jalen Brunson not a starter. Just throwing that out there. So for you Pacer fans going to work, know that you made the Knicks fan a little upset at the proceedings last night.
The Brunson-Haliburton thing is kind of interesting. Think back to Team USA. They started Brunson, but Haliburton was by far the better player in that World Cup. And the Knicks twice, right, before the All-Star break? Pacers-Knicks?
Yeah, Knicks are coming up here on February the 1st, and then you get them February the 10th, about 5-6 days before the festivities start here in Indianapolis.
Very much looking forward to that. And, boy, the start for OG Anunoby in New York, it's been pretty darn impressive. He is like 50, 40, 90 for them. They have lost, I think, just 2 games all month long. And defensively, did I see they held Denver to 84 last night?
Oh, is that what they did? 84?
Denver?
Yeah, they did. 84?
Denver
what year is
stopped
this?
playing at halftime?
Oh, my God.
And I'm pretty sure
Joker had 31.
I'm pretty sure Jokic, Murray, and they had their normal guys.
Yeah, Murray was bad. Murray had 9 points last night.
Yeah, so that trade clearly working out for the Knicks. Thad Matta joins us next. Pair of tickets, Butler Nova.
If you're talking about It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
9 o'clock hour, hanging on the DriveHubler.com studios. KB and Andy, Mark Deichen producing. We're the wake-up call here on The Fan. Busy day on The Fan on this. It's a feel-good Friday here around here. Query and Company coming your way at noon. JMV at 3 o'clock. We got you set up. All the action, of course, tonight with the Pacers in action. So we'll be talking about that as we go. And is it Kayshon Boutte? Is that how you say it? The wide receiver from LSU? We got to talk about that story.
1-800-9 with it, is that correct?
We got to talk about that story to end things as well. All right, so we have Thad Matta on the Payless Liquors hotline, head coach there, Butler basketball. So we're going to interview him, and then at the end, we'll give away 2 tickets to the game against Villanova coming up on Saturday. Coach, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Well, how about yourselves?
We are fantastic. Appreciate you joining us. I know things are busy getting ready for another Big East matchup coming up tomorrow. I guess let's start there. I know as of late, Villanova has stumbled, I believe, 3 straight losses, but this is a big one for you guys. Obviously, the calendar really, really picks up here as we move late January into February. What do you know about Villanova? What kind of team are they coming into Hinkle tomorrow afternoon?
Well, I think this, just like all your typical Villanova teams. I mean, they're well balanced. Got really, really talented players, and the kid Dixon, who was on the last national championship team, is just a force to be reckoned with. And they're one of those teams. They haven't changed how they play from when Coach Wright was there, but they're kind of methodical. They're going to shoot a ton of 3-point shots. We're going to do a tremendous job of challenging shots, rebounding the basketball, and then, defensively, they're one of the top 25 teams in the country. So we'll have to be on point with our execution, and as we always tell our guys, we want the shots we want, not the shots they want us to take.
It is a checker out tomorrow at Hinkle Fieldhouse.
Yeah.
Butler. How about that? You got any
like
500 stories, Coach, over the years? I'm trying to think. Late May. I don't know if you on vacation or anything. But you ever been to the 500?
I have been, and I'm telling you, and I've said this so many times. I've been in some of the greatest sporting events. National championship games, 75,000 people for the jump ball, whatever. But I don't think there's a greater rush than when the PA announcer comes on and says, "Gentlemen, start your engines." When that happens, like I get goosebumps just thinking about it. That's like the greatest thing I've ever seen. Then like the 2 warm-up laps and warming their tires up. I'm a big fan. I'm too old to go now, but I haven't missed a race in a long time.
Yeah, there's nothing like those 33 cars coming at you there in turn 1. Again, check her out tomorrow in Hinkle. Blue and white action. We'll give away a pair of tickets here at the end of this. A guy for you that looks like he could honestly be on a pit crew is Pierre Brooks. I know you've been pretty balanced all year long. I'd say Pierre's probably been maybe the top of that balance. What did you know about him prior to transferring in from Michigan State? Just kind of curious if you could take us through that background and how he came to Butler.
Yeah, it's funny because we were just talking about this yesterday with somebody. I think from the standpoint now with the transfer portal, that sort of thing, you don't get an opportunity to really, really get to know these kids. And, I had known Pierre was a highly touted kid coming out of high school. Obviously coming from a great program, great coach at Michigan State. And, things just didn't work out for him. And I think he had something what I liked is he had something he wanted to prove. And he's been tremendous for us thus far. And as you said, I mean, he's been steady throughout the course of the season. And we need Pierre to continue to play at the level he's playing, that's for sure.
Thad Matta with us here. He joins us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Like KB said, check her out tomorrow in Hinkle. We'll give away a couple more tickets. I believe, KB, you've mentioned our tickets are in the blue section, right? Coach, we don't want anyone wearing blue in the white section and vice versa, okay?
You're going to have to be catastrophic.
You have to get a student manager to go up there and reprimand somebody. Throw them a T-shirt or a sweatshirt or something since it's so cold out. You're always you're building a program here, you're rebuilding a program, and you're always recruiting, whether it be for guys in the portal, it's guys on your own team now, high school kids and everything else. With the improvement, and I'm sure you hope the continued improvement from last year to this year, if kids are watching your team, what do you think they're picking up on why they would be a Butler? Again, this is either portal kids or high school kids. What are you doing this season that's saying, hey, we're building something here. You need to look at us in the evaluation process of where you're going to play college basketball?
Well, I think the first thing I would start with is how much better our players have gotten. And that's something, we take very serious and just in terms of our commitment to our players and helping them to become the best players that they possibly can. I think, offensively, you got to look and say, hey, they play with freedom, they play with pace, their simplicity. But I want our guys to play basketball, and I think defensively, you're looking at guys that are competing, they're playing hard, and probably the last thing, because I think you go through this recruiting process and everybody is self-centered in what they're looking for, but at the end of the day, you want to be in a locker room, you want to be with a group of guys that you enjoy being with, and I think we've got really, really good kids, and could not be happier with who they are as people and who they are as teammates, because you spend so much time together. You do want to be with a group of guys that have the same mission that you do.
13-7 on the year, 4-5 in the Big East. Thad Matta joins us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. It is quite the upcoming month for Butler. Tons and tons of quality opponents. Obviously, tremendous opportunities to bolster that resume. Coach, how much do you pay attention to what the resume looks like, to what the bubble looks like this time of year?
It's funny, and you probably won't believe this, but I don't. I've always been a guy that just keep the focus on what I can control, and that's us. Everybody talks about March Madness. What about January and February Madness in college basketball? But no, we just got to keep playing. We got to keep getting better, and that's the thing. We were off Wednesday after the Georgetown game, and one of the things we showed our guys yesterday in film was just, hey, these were the things that we deemed to be important. These are the things that we added for the Georgetown game, and you did them. You did them well. And, probably our Villanova Saturday, we got to make changes to how we're attacking and what we're doing defensively. And this group has been tremendous in carrying out scouting plans. And, you don't get a lot of preparation time nowadays when the January, February, it's quick turns. And these guys are doing a great job with that.
I'm guessing the transfer portal has altered this a bit, but compared to your Ohio State days, how much has the in-season part of recruiting changed for you at all?
Yeah, it's definitely changed without a doubt. I think you used to be able to sit in your recruiting room and look at a board and project 3 years out who's going to be on your team. If we get this kid, then he can fill in here, and this sophomore here, and now those days are pretty much over in terms of the projection. I mean, my hope is that we only lose two guys, Jalen and JM, off this team, and would love to retain this group and add a couple more pieces to it.
Thad Matta with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Again, Villanova and Butler, that coming up on Saturday. We'll give a couple tickets away in the blue section, on the checkered section there in Hinkle. We'll do that. Just to combine a couple different thoughts and questions that we've been asking you. You may not look at it, but there's the quad system now. Quad 1 wins and quad 2 wins. And the next 6 games is pretty daunting for you guys. You have 2 quad 2 opportunities and 4 quad 1 opportunities. UConn, Creighton, Marquette, and Creighton twice. Providence is a quad 2 game. I know you're not totally paying attention to it, but you do know your schedule picks up. So if your team is going to win on Saturday and win some of these games and get back into that tournament conversation, what needs to happen? What few things would we say, okay, Butler's doing this, that's why they're 4-2 in these quad 1 opportunities coming up, for instance?
Well, we got to make shots. That's I think the simplest answer, but the truth. We're going to have to score the ball against these teams. I think that's one of the things I've found is I think the defense is underrated in the Big East. It's really, really hard to score. And we're going to have to go out and I'll say this, we need all of our guys, everybody that plays, if we run 9, if we run 10, they got to play well. And not great. I'm not saying great, but we had DJ went through a little bit of a week and a half slump, and now to his credit, he kept defending and did a great job. But it was great to see Ja make shots the other night. He'd been struggling to put the ball in the basket, but we don't need perfect. We just need guys to play well down this stretch, and we got to stay connected because, as you guys are alluding to, we got some great opponents coming up. There's no question about that. Very experienced teams, and a lot of those games are on the road.
Last one for me, and again, Thad Matta is with us here. Butler Nova tomorrow at 3:00. Coach, we asked you, I think, right at the start of the season about Greg Oden, of course, being on your staff, but I'm curious if you don't mind, Mike Conley, and I think it's year 17 if I'm adding this up right. I don't know, maybe it's year 18 for him.
He was with me in 07.
Right, yeah, just an absolutely absurd run after Ohio State into the NBA. Obviously, Greg was probably the first one that you caught eye of or were told about at a young age. What do you recall about seeing Mike Conley Jr., whether it was at LN or AAU or wherever, your first impressions of him?
Well, I tell you what, it's funny because I tell this story. The first 3 times I watched Michael play, I walked out. I didn't know if he was right-handed or left-handed. And I remember saying, like, as a college basketball, you should know what hand he is. He's ambidextrous, and I used to tell people, and he came out in it would have been 07 or 06, whatever it was. There was a great point guard class, and I told people, I said, he's the best point guard in this class, and nobody believed me. And I knew how special he was, and I give his dad, Mike Sr., a ton of credit. I remember after we had lost to Florida in the national championship that night, it's like 1:30 in the morning, we're eating dinner, and I called him over the table. I said, Mike, when we get back to Columbus tomorrow, I said, you and I sit down and talk about your future. He says, what are you talking about? I says, I'm coming back to Ohio State. And I said, great. So he walks away from the table. I turned to the coach. I said, he has no idea he's a top 5 pick because he just kept playing. He didn't listen to all that, and I think that's exactly what he's done in the 17 years in the NBA. He just is who he is, and he just plays, and it's paid off for him. There's no question about it.
Gosh, that is so true about him being right-handed, just how great he was with his right hand. I remember watching high school teams that would try and press LN and be like, all right, we're going to get Oden out of the game by pressing, and Conley just single-handedly break it every time.
Yeah, I've always said this about Michael. If he would have chose golf, he'd have won the Masters. If he'd have chose track like his dad, he'd have been a gold medalist. Tennis, whatever. I mean, he was a freak athlete, and probably the most important thing was his mind. He understood everything that was coming at him.
Been a hell of a run for him, and obviously Thad Matta, a big part of that at Ohio State. Coach, can't wait to see how the next month unfolds for you. It's been a nice season up to this point, some terrific opportunities for you starting tomorrow at 3:00. Good luck, and hope Hinkle will be rocking as always.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thad Matta. Let's go caller. Let's go, 4th overall pick, Mike Conley. Does that sound right?
That's fine. I was smiling. I thought you were going to say caller 14. Just have Mark
I would have left. How do we tie in Conley here? Caller number 4 right now. Pair of tickets to Butler Nova 317-239-1070.
By the way, dude's still averaging 11 points, 6 rebounds, and shooting 45% from the field. He's going to be 37. Good for him.
42 starts this year for one of the best teams in the league.
He's made a lot of money. I need to look up his contracts. Conley's done well. Good for him.
Yeah, I remember our high school coach saying that when he got the vote for Mr. Basketball, he actually voted for Conley over Oden. Oden was obviously National Player of the Year and whatever. Can't miss prospect, et cetera, et cetera. But I think anybody that watched LN play, Conley was he was incredible. I think I could not nod my head more at Thad Matta's comment when he said, when you walk away, you're like, wait, was he right-handed or left-handed? And at that young of an age to have that, I feel like when you watch kids.
Well, he's 16 years old.
Yeah,
watch
talking
about him. 17 years old.
How many times, Andy, did you just see one dominant hand?
Oh, if you're a lefty, you can only dribble with your left hand.
Right.
Yeah.
And even at that age, I think it's difficult to be somewhat trustworthy or comfortable going to your left there. So,
by the way,
thank you to Thad Matta for that.
My 4-month-old son, Mason, little gas.
Are we working on his left?
No, we think he's a lefty.
Oh.
We think he's a lefty. So my mom was a lefty. My wife's a lefty. I'm not sure who else in our either of our families are lefties, but he's a lefty. And that's a good thing, is it not? With those pitchers get paid a lot.
I think the only issue is finding the equipment. If you need golf clubs,
that's a great point. I'll rely on you for that, Uncle
anything
Kevin.
On that end. Yeah, I will make sure to find some left-handed clubs for you. Again, the upcoming stretch for Butler.
It's a beast. It's a beast.
Nova tomorrow, at Creighton, at UConn, Providence, Marquette, Creighton again at home, at Nova, and then at Seton Hall. Those 8 games, if you looked at the standings right now, 7 of the 8 will qualify as Quad 1 opportunities. And I think any sort of bracket thing you look at right now, Butler needs a couple of more. I honestly, out of those 8, they probably need around 3-ish.
Yeah, I think they need 2 Quad 1 wins coming out of this, don't you?
I would say 3 to feel good. Feel safe,
maybe you could say a couple of those Quad 2 games and then a Quad 1 game, but I don't know. For me, you need a couple. They've already beat Marquette. You can do that again. I'm going to try to be in the building when St. John's comes through.
You want to see Ricky P?
Yeah, I would like to go see Ricky P. Yeah. Now, one of Ricky P's guys, if you will, he's in Washington, D.C. right now. I might do a little reach out and say, hey, you going to be in town? A little meet and greet with Ricky P before the game.
I thought you were going to say you were going to reach out to try and get him on the show.
You want to try? I'll try to get him on the show.
Let's get Ricky
It was a very selfish move by you. I want to go to the game, watch him, not get him on the show.
Yeah, I don't want a conversation behind the bench before the game. I want him on the air.
Fair enough. We'll try that. I got no problem with that.
St. John's a tournament team?
No. Not right now.
Are they not?
No. I would say they'd be on the outside looking in. Can they get there? Yeah, I'm sure. I haven't looked, but I'm sure they have, 6, 7 Quad 1 opportunities coming up.
And how about this? I was actually just chatting with Mark Minner, the voice of the Bulldogs, last night at the Pacer game. This news, I think we all expected it, but now is official here. We know that Barry Collier, their AD, obviously the start of the Butler way. He's retiring here at the end of the year, and the next athletic director will be Grant Leindecker, who is rejoined the university, I think just a couple of years ago. He's got 1 million kids, was a member of those Butler Final Four national runner-up teams. So Grant Leindecker going to be the new AD. They're taking over for Barry Collier.
Is that a job you think you could do? If you say, I don't want to do this broadcasting thing, I want to get into
I'm not smart
communications and being an SID and then move up eventually to an AD at a school. You think you could be an AD?
No chance.
Hire a coach?
No chance.
The coach
I don't even know the order of the planets.
You.
I'm just making stitches of Tyrese Haliburton and Grand Pere from Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood.
Listen, I know I may sound stupid here, and people say, well, Sweeney's stupid. You may say that anyway. How many people you think actually know the order of the planets? I'd say it's a staggering low number.
Oh, I'd like to think over 50%.
No?
No. Are you saying we're a dumb country?
If that makes us a dumb country, then yeah, I'm saying we're a dumb country. Come on. You've seen the man on the street ask a person in, downtown Chicago or New York or hell, Indy, just a general question, or they take a blank map out there. Jimmy Kimmel's done that, or these late night shows.
Am I seeing this correctly? Ken Palm's got Illinois as a 15-point favorite over Indiana tomorrow.
Let me pull up Ken Palm.
Does that seem high?
No, it doesn't. Why would you say that?
Well,
Why would you say that?
I don't know.
86-71.
I'm not
90%
sold on
chance
Illinois.
I don't disagree with you on that, but I think Ken Palm's saying we know what Indiana is, and we sure as hell know what Indiana is away from home. And there's a chance Kel'el Ware doesn't play, obviously.
This might be a dumb question. Is that factoring in Kel'el Ware? I mean, obviously the gambling sites will, but does an analytical site like that
I'm viewing. In fact, Mark, go ahead and bring that up if you don't mind. Clip 10 here. Here's Mike Woodson. I did cut this morning. Here's Mike Woodson. This is yesterday, okay? This is yesterday, providing an update on Kel'el Ware.
He was on the floor a little yesterday. He did some warm-up drills with us. Nothing where he's had contact where he has to cut and block out and block shots, things of that nature. No, he just basically did some endurance stuff on the floor with us doing our warm-up. So I'll get a better feel today once we get down there and see where he is today.
So the today, I guess, would have been yesterday,
yeah,
right?
It would have been Thursday.
That was yesterday morning. Yeah, that was yesterday morning. So they didn't have, I guess, a pre press conference because of travel. So, and you said he did a little bit of contact.
Well, I
yesterday.
think that was the hope.
Okay,
that was the hope.
I don't
that he
think.
would...
Boy, I tell you, that doesn't sound like he's going to play.
No, that
he
doesn't
hasn't
sound
done anything.
Overly optimistic by any means on that.
Not at all. Again, 86-71. That's what KenPom thinks. It's going to be a 90% chance that Illinois wins that game. Oof.
All right, coming up in a bit, we will do the pop quiz, 317-239-1070. That is a freebie Friday. So no matter what, Jiffy Lube oil change coming your way with that. Before all of it, let's do a morning checkdown.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here at the Indiana Farmers Coliseum, March 11th and 12th.
All right, 134-122. That's your final last night in Gamebridge. Pacers winners. They had lost 5 out of 6. Needed to get that win last night over Philly, and they did. Controlled basically much of the game. 25-20 now are the Pacers on the season. I wanted to play this clip for you and get a reaction if you don't mind, KB. This is after the game. Rick Carlisle talking about Miles Turner and the way he played. I mean, great defense last night, stayed out of foul trouble, scored up over 20 points. Great night for him. Miles Turner, his play and overcoming the criticism that sometimes he receives.
You know, there's always going to be noise. There's always going to be external noise. There's going to be people in his ear about things he should be doing. The Twitterverse saying what they think. You know, the job of a coaching staff is to manage all expectations as best we can. The truth is, when Miles Turner plays within himself to his skill set, he's a top center in this league. There's no disputing that. And this year he's done that.
Well, let me okay, go ahead.
Well,
no, just go ahead.
I felt these two things about Turner throughout his entire career. A total disservice, unfortunately, was done to him when Larry Bird said he could be the best shooter this franchise has ever seen.
Right
after he was drafted. That puts an immense amount of pressure on you. And I also feel this way, Andy, and I am at blame of this. I think people are at blame of this when they describe Zach Edey. I think we sit here as normal-sized humans, and we see big dudes like that, and we think, if I were that big, I guarantee you I'd be in the NBA. I guarantee you I'd be doing this and that. And when you watch Turner, his game is not traditional post player, 80s, 90s era type of guy. That's not him. Like, I mean, you watched the game last night. How many times did Miles Turner post up and the Pacers throw it into him? I would guess very few.
He shot 6 threes last night, for
So
instance.
I think that just rubs people the wrong way. And, like, people just don't love that. And, again, I'm trying to explain where I think the criticism comes from with him. Miles Turner is a he's one of the early modern-day bigs of protect the rim, stretch the floor, and that's going to be his game. And, yeah, he's not the most, skilled guy at the rim when you compare him to other NBA bigs. He's not going to punish people in the post. Like, that's just not really kind of his thing. But to Rick's point, if he protects the rim and hits open threes, that is damn important for a basketball team, and he is very critical to the Pacers.
Well, and him and even Siakam talked about this after the game, that he's like, hey, now me and Turner are starting to get into the same mindset even after it's only been a few games. I know that's something you stressed a lot, is how Siakam had been vocal about playing with Turner.
Right. And he didn't do that Tuesday night.
Yeah, and you think about this, Turner, the way the game is played with being a perimeter big is now not only acceptable, it is expected.
Sure.
I mean, Joel Embiid has, he can make threes, but I'm even, he's so great close to the basket. But, I would say Turner, the reason I ask you that is I know the conversation around Turner. I know how there has been, frustration at time. I feel like this team, the way they're playing and the way the NBA has went, basically, is all good for Miles Turner. So when I hear Carlisle say that, I am understanding of what the big conversation has been. But at least for this season, I don't see it at all. I mean, especially if you say Haliburton and Siakam and maybe Knightley, Miles is your third option, fourth option, and he's a guy that's 18-7 and shoots over 50% and can, knock some threes down. I don't know. I don't know what there is to complain about Miles Turner right now. This season.
Wire-to-wire win of the season for the Pacers. Zach Edey, Zaire Franklin in the building, among others. Last night, 134-122. The Suns tonight. Quite the back-to-back. It will be Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and company, their only appearance. I guess I shouldn't say their only appearance inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Their only appearance as a son inside of Cambridge Fieldhouse this season. Obviously, they'll be at the All-Star game coming up here in a few weeks. Speaking of that, Tyrese Haliburton is indeed an All-Star. The starters for the East, the Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Haliburton, Jason Tatum, and Damian Lillard. Out west, LeBron, Luka, Durant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Nikola Jokic there. Those were announced last night. I am now curious, Andy, last year we got Haliburton and Buddy Hield in the three-point contest?
Mm-hmm.
You would think they would both want to do that again, both deserving of spots, and then Obi Toppin in the dunk contest would make some sense.
Yeah,
Again,
that's the one. That's the one I care about.
Those Saturday night activities inside of Lucas Oil Stadium here coming up in a few weeks.
Just a couple other quick notes. Atlanta Falcons hiring Raheem Morris as their head coach. Now, remember, they interviewed Bill Belichick twice, Bobby Slowick twice, and had Vrabel in the building on a Wednesday. Didn't matter. Raheem Morris gets the job there in Atlanta.
I think he was the runner-up to Shane Steichen, for those that care.
Yeah, the immediate takeaway by just about every NFL analyst was Raheem Morris should have been a head coach before getting the job last night. And if he didn't get the Atlanta job and ended up not getting one in this cycle, I think he would have been the guy that people would have been giving some hot takes about. Like, why didn't he get a job?
During the Colts process last year, I was talking to someone that has been on the staff with Raheem Morris, and this guy had been in the league for a couple decades and said, never been around someone who combines great human and great coach more than him.
Well, does it matter what he did in before this?
Well, I mean, he was 32 years old at the time with Tampa over a decade ago. I mean, look at me. I'm 34 and I don't know the order of the planets.
Again, I wouldn't use that as the
Are you saying it's
test.
a low bar?
I'm saying not 25%. I'm looking at Scotty now. He won't like this. I'm telling you, 25% of our audience might know the order of the planets. Quickly, Sharon Moore, the OC there at Michigan. The thought is he'll get the job. Could happen this weekend. He'll get elevated to head coach there with Jim Harbaugh going to L.A. And then just quickly, Milwaukee, the Bucks, they sign or are close to signing Doc Rivers. He'll be their next head coach. I would imagine he'll be on the bench next week for Milwaukee.
And again, tomorrow, 3 o'clock, IU and Illinois, Butler and Nova. Sunday at 1, it'll be Purdue at Rutgers. Purdue is averaging 91 per game over the last 4. I'm going to guess they don't get to that number inside of the rack. And as Rob Blackman pointed out earlier this week, the voice of the Boilers, this is the only venue the senior class for Purdue is not won at in the Big Ten. I'm trying to even think. Nowadays, I don't even know who are seniors or not. I'm like Mason Gillis and was Ethan Morton a senior?
I think that's it. Is that it?
I'm trying to think of who would even fall into that category.
Of course, I'm still
not right.
I'm still angry that Edey last night wasn't in a suite. I mean, all these Purdue, you guys know this. All these Purdue fans, come on, let's put some of that NIL scratch together. Let's get my man up in a luxury suite.
Was Edey a redshirt senior? Gosh, I don't know.
Well, and then you have
turn on your mic.
Then you have the COVID. Then you have the COVID year and everything else.
Gillis, Edey, Chase
Edey
Martin,
is a 4-year guy.
Ethan Morton, Carson Barrett.
A lot of walk-ons along.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
3 or 4.
That will be on the list of things to check for Purdue because that's kind of where this run has been. Pretty incredible what they've done here in this era. All right, on the other side, it is Freebie Friday for the Pop Quiz. 317-239-1070. Jiffy Lube Oil Change next.
Some people just know
Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with KB and Andy. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
I appreciate Thad Matta, Butler basketball head coach, joining us. Last segment, we did get our winner, right? I don't think we gave out a name, but we did get a winner. Second winner. Who won, by the way? Richard. Congratulations.
Wear blue, Richard.
Wear blue. Don't be that guy.
Again, if you're going to the Butler game tomorrow, check out the checkered pattern that they have labeled up there from Hinkle. Now, have you ever been to an Indy 500?
I have not. No.
Okay, so
I've been to the track. It's funny. I've been to Brickyards.
Really?
Yeah, I've been to a few of those.
Can I ask
why? You can ask why. My uncle was a big NASCAR guy.
Got it.
And so we moved from Western New York to here, to Indiana, to Southern Indiana. He wanted to go to the Brickyard, so there we were. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I guess there's probably more people out there than I would think that have been to Brickyards, but not 500s. I guess if you are a NASCAR fan,
he was a big NASCAR fan. He spent good money on tickets to be very close to Dale Earnhardt Jr. a couple times. So
sure.
Yes.
Well, I could not agree more with Thad Matta saying
I can't wait.
Nothing like those 33 cars coming at you.
You know what I can't wait for?
The green
you take
flag.
your own cooler in. That's what me and Mark have been talking about. We've been talking about that all week.
I cannot wait for Carb Day. And how many Fridays? What do we got? 22 Fridays, something like that until
a long time.
Carb Day. So enjoyed that with Thad Matta. He will be
That's great.
on the podcast coming up shortly. It is time for the pop quiz. 317-239-1070 for that. I always kind of grade the pop quiz off of the length of the questions and the answers.
Well.
Scotty, this might be the shortest pop quiz in the history. Now, nothing for number 5. Oh, you did say we could give a hint for 5?
We can give a hint.
Right.
Okay.
Fun fact, I've had lunch with that person.
Wow.
Okay.
Really?
Now, that's not going to help anybody.
It's not going to, but it was a good memory for me.
Can you give us where?
My dad, when he was working at a former company, had like a luncheon, and that guy was a guest speaker, and he's like, "Do you want to go and get out of school?" I'm like, well, first of all, he said, get out of school. I don't care where you're taking me. You can take me wherever. And then he's like, oh, that guy is going to be the guest speaker. And he sat right next to me, and we talked for a while.
Yeah, you'd have lunch with Brett Favre if you could get out of
I don't know
school.
if I go that far.
What the hell is Brett Favre doing here?
All right, Andy, give me a number 1 through 8 here.
Goodness, let's go number 5. Caller number 5. Who do we have?
Who we got, Mark?
That is Gary.
Gary,
good morning, man. How are you?
All right, what's going on, fellas?
Hey, Gary, what's on the weekend agenda?
You don't want to know.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man.
Okay. Well, I will nervously follow up and say, feel free to share, Gary, if you don't mind.
Oh, this is awkward.
Oh, just some football, man.
Okay, well,
Gary either has a boring life or he's a hired killer. He's an
coming up.
assassin.
Yeah.
I don't know which one it is.
I was thinking more, I don't know, adult film related there. Well, Gary, a little pigskin seems rather innocent. Yeah, we got a great slate on Sunday. I'm nervous to ask what you're doing on Saturday.
Saturday? I don't know yet.
Okay, all right. Well,
what do you have in mind?
Well, I'm afraid to say publicly. I'm starting to sweat.
College basketball.
Yeah, I'm watching Notre Dame, Boston College.
Very innocent.
Yeah, very innocent. Trust me. Andy, I guess.
I guess let's go.
Toss one Gary's way.
All right, Gary.
Should be an interesting oil change for Gary here on this
Let's go, Gary.
Friday.
Let's get a winner here on the way out. The Pacers beat the Philadelphia 76ers last night at the Fieldhouse. Who was the game's leading scorer? Was it Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, or Miles Turner?
Embiid.
Number
31, right?
Yeah, good start.
Number 2, Gary. Tyrese Haliburton was named a starter for the Eastern Conference in next month's NBA All-Star Game. Who was the last Pacer to be named an All-Star Game starter? Was it Jermaine O'Neal, Reggie Miller, Victor Oladipo, or Paul George?
Oladipo.
All right, question number 3.
You sure, Gary?
Ooh, okay. I was wondering if you were going to help him.
Paul George?
Question number
Mark
3.
Mother's Ball? I don't know.
You got it. You good. Question number 3. The NFL Conference Championship games will take place on Sunday. Chiefs quarterback Pat Mahomes is looking to reach the Super Bowl for the 4th time. How many times combined have the other 3 quarterbacks on Sunday, so that's Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, and Jared Goff, how many times total have they reached the Super Bowl?
1. Golf.
Yes, boy, Gary. All right, number 4 here. Who is the first rookie to receive the most votes from the fans in NBA All-Star voting? The Grant Hill, Michael Jordan, Yao Ming, or LeBron James?
Yao Ming.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough question.
That's a tough question. Question number 5. Super Bowl 20 was held on this day in 1986 as Mark Dykton's Chicago Bears pounded the Patriots 46-10 for Chicago's lone Super Bowl
I was
win.
barely a month old.
There you go.
At Portillo's for lunch, right, Mark?
That's great. Who was the MVP of Super Bowl 20?
Oh, God, it was the cornerback. Oh, gee. Durson? Or, probably, yeah. Durson.
Dave Durson?
Yeah.
Gary, the activities this weekend, will they take place inside or outside of your house that you didn't want to share earlier?
Oh, you coming over?
Well, probably not. I'd love to make it.
Again,
but...
he's got that big Notre Dame Boston College game on ACC Network Plus that he's got to watch on Saturday.
Yeah, I would love to make it, Gary, but I think I just am a tad busy.
I feel like you're going to walk in the door and there's going to be a plastic sheet on the ground.
Yeah, I am. I am a little nervous here. Gary
he did
gave
pretty good, though.
a very nice effort here. Boy, number 4 was a really hard question. By the way, he got 1, 2, and 3 right. Embiid, Paul George,
correct.
as he said, Jared Goff, the lone Super Bowl appearance from the other QBs, not named Mahomes. I would have guessed Yao Ming as well for 4.
Yeah, I mean, you have MJ, so you have Michael Jordan, then you have LeBron James,
Again,
and then you have Yao Ming and what he meant to the league, yeah.
First rookie to receive the most votes from the fans in NBA All-Star voting. I mean, Yao or LeBron would have been the 2 votes.
Yeah,
and then,
I know.
Is that just all Duke, Scotty, with Grant Hill? Yeah.
I
But
know he had
still,
a good
the rookie
first 5
hype
years,
is
but
just, I don't know.
yeah.
Gary Richard Dent for number 5. And
So Richard Dent, that's who you sat next to?
Yep.
For a lunch? Nice. Good for you.
we got a
Shot to
picture
the blank
him?
with him for a while. I mean, I was the only kid there and stuff, but he was very happy, very nice, signed a
good.
bunch of autographs for me. It was very nice. Very nice man.
I guess I'll just say behave, Gary. I don't really know how to end that one.
Hey, here's an invitation for your league champion to play in our tournament and maybe make a monumental upset. For the rest of you, piss off.
That's Greg Rakestraw.
I think that's how we ended.
Earlier today. Yeah, Garrett's like, oh, you don't want to know. It did make it sound like he was doing something nefarious, I guess.
That
the
is
big key word.
unbelievable right there from Gary. All
Good
right,
job, Gary.
We'll do it one final time. Wild gambling story to close things out.
Say hello to the power, performance, and precision of It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, Wake Up Call final segment. Andy Sweeney, Kevin Bowen, Mark Dighton hanging out with you. Appreciate a fun show today and this week. You miss anything, you can always check it out, 1075thefan.com. Check out the YouTube channel as well. Search 1075 The Fan. You'll find that. Type in Indianapolis Sports Radio. You can find us there and see our beautiful mugs. Replay everything there. Podcast, listen live, all on the website. Also check out the app. Download it for free. Take us anywhere you would like to take us. So lots of Pacer talk today. Reminder, Pacers back in action. Catch that game, of course, right here on The Fan. KB, do you want to end today? How much have you read up on New England Patriots wide receiver Kayshon, is it Boutte? I need to find out. We need to find out how we say his name. Have you read up on this story, or have you just seen the headlines like I'm sure most people have?
Yeah, I've just seen the bullet points, and it strikes me as probably enough that I need to see, right? Is there...
Okay, so I have a couple different stories
By the
up.
way, can you give out his username first?
Well, I'm going to do that. That's part of this. So Kayshon Boutte, Boutte, he was a fine wide receiver at LSU. Okay,
sounds like a spice.
Yeah, it does. Not like a Justin Jefferson, Odell Beckham, neighbors. Not like that, but a fine player. And so he was picked up by the New England Patriots. He was arrested yesterday in Baton Rouge over allegations. These are felony allegations of illegal sports betting while he played at LSU. The charges against him include a felony count of computer fraud and a misdemeanor count of gambling prohibited by persons under 21 years old. He posted bond. He's out. It's saying here he created an alias account. This is while he was under 21.
Not sure if I'd call it an alias.
Account. So he allegedly created an alias account. The username, what a genius this guy is. The username was Kayshon Boutte 01.
The 01 will throw him off.
He threw in again, this is the reason it's good that gambling is legalized is it catches these sorts of things. And so he created the alias his name with an 01, and then for the name, when you have to fill out these things on ESPN, Batter, DraftKings, FanDuel, was Kayla Fortenberry. Whoever that is, if that's a real name or if he just made it up. So he did that, and then his...
Now, is that chess or checkers by him?
Well,
he's thinking, hey... They'll never think it's really me if I give my actual name as the username.
Well, then they
won't think I'm that dumb.
He created a second account, and that was Kayshon Boutte 07. So he went from 01 and he went to 07. I think the 7, that's the number he wore in college. I don't know. I don't remember. He played
he was
very
like
little.
A 5-star recruit.
Yeah,
he was very highly thought
he
of.
He absolutely was. And he only played 4 or 5 games for New England. So we'll see what happens then. So, yes, his fake aliases were his name with an 01 and an 07. Now, the reason it matters for football, he bet on college football games, including up to 6 games that were LSU games.
Well, how about obviously that is probably the biggest element of all of this. How about the number of bets?
Oh, and how much money he won. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, that too. 8,900 bets he placed in a 13-month span. Someone was saying that breaks down to about 20-plus bets a day.
I mean, that guy's betting WNBA,
holy
tennis, golf. Now, authorities claim that he deposited a total of a little over $132,000 into an account, and he won $556,000. Okay, but he used most of the winnings because obviously, I mean, this guy's a big-time gambler. He used most of it to fund other bets. He ultimately did withdraw a little over $50,000 according to the warrant. But apparently, this guy's a good gambler.
So he's got a second career choice, is what you're saying.
Right,
I mean, that's a lot of winning.
You bounce the income in multiple ways,
Call
right?
me, I got all the winners.
Diversify your portfolio.
Who doesn't need a side hustle in today's economy, right?
Just the sheer number, honestly, is what stands out to me. I don't, and I hope I'm not catching anyone off guard. I don't really know any reason or how to transition to this a little bit better, but I did want to make sure we stuck this in before the end of the show. I guess when you hear some legal matters like this, it got me thinking of yesterday. We did I think it kind of started to trickle out yesterday. Maybe WTHR had it earlier in the week. The 911 call for Jim Irsay and that incident at his home on December 8th did come out yesterday. I listened to the entire call, Andy. It's about 8 or 9 minutes.
Yeah, it's long.
Pete Ward, the team's COO, is the one that made the call to 911. He was not at the Irsay residence at the time. Again, remember, this is about 4 a.m. in the morning when he had his, I want to make sure I get the technicalities right, the supposed overdose. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but Pete was coming from, I assume, his own residence and makes the call and is kind of relaying information from the on-site nurse. So there was a nurse there. I want to say she relayed a number of his oxygen levels, 71 or 72.
Yeah, it's 71, 72. In the normal human, it's 95 to 100. So that number is drastically low. Scary low.
Pete is an extremely calm individual to begin with. It did certainly strike me how calm he was in the 8 minutes, and certainly from a 911 operator standpoint, they probably were, very, very relieved to hear, calmness on the other end. I'm sure they get very chaotic calls.
Sure.
At times, but yeah, just I don't know, just hearing Pete's voice, it was just it was quite eerie to listen to all of that. Again, we have nothing official from an update standpoint whatsoever from the Colts on that, but that you might start to see kind of that thing start to get trickled out more and more from a mainstream media standpoint.
It's all over the internet.
I don't think there's anything earth-shattering from the call.
I would agree.
It's simply him relaying again a lot of what the nurse is saying, and then basically describes, okay, this is where you want to go once you get through the gates to the Irsay, property and where Jim is in relation to the house. And then he stays on the line with the operator until the police and the ambulance do get there. Again, this is the very wee hours of was it a Friday morning or Saturday morning?
I believe it was a Friday at 4:30, 4:31 a.m.
Yeah.
is when they were doing all of this. I don't know. We talked about this off air. I just, Pete making the call, I guess it goes down the chain of command that the nurse calls him and he makes the call.
Yeah,
I
don't know that.
I don't know the answer to that, but that was one thing. And then how much in the last few years have you guys talked about congestive heart failure with him? We've talked.
That was the other thing.
Okay, because
I'm glad you mentioned that.
We've talked about a lot of things
that
with
is
Jim
what
Irsay, but that hasn't been one of those.
Pete Ward said that to the 911 operator as what he thought was going on.
Right.
And obviously, again, severe respiratory illness is the only thing the Colts have officially confirmed off of that. I do find it, I don't know, I guess I didn't really think through who was, I just assumed that whoever was at the residence would call 911. In a way, I'm like, Pete Ward making the call. He is for those unfamiliar with Pete Ward, he is the right hand of right-hand men to the Irsay family. He's pretty much an Irsay without the last name on it. He's been at the Colts since they moved here. He is their chief operating officer. So, hearing Pete's voice, and again, Pete is a really calm individual, but you also walk away from that call, and a thought that I did have once I listened to the entire audio, Andy, of man, he is so darn calm on this. It's almost like, he's made a call like this before. It almost was like that. I'm trying to picture myself in those shoes.
Listen, that's exactly what I was doing. I would not be calm. He was calculated, calm, clear, concise.
Yeah, all of that. And again, he's not on site, so it's not like
he's on a car phone. Phone. Yeah, he's on the Bluetooth.
Simply getting this third hand, and is that something where you just sleep with the ringer on, and you never know when you're going to get a call like that. So again, I will reiterate, certainly. Thoughts are with Jim and the Irsay family, and this is until we get more clarity on this situation. I think there is a lot of worry here, and understandably so with that. So, if you guys see that start to trickle out, that's I think WTHR had it first. Indy Stars got it as well, so you'll probably hear some of that audio.
Mark Dykton just put up our picks. We all took the Ravens for this weekend. So congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs on yet another. Well, that would be we just had the question. That'd be the fourth Super Bowl for Pat Mahomes. And
I need a break from the Chiefs. I need a break.
Don't we all need a break from the Chiefs?
Well, it sounds like Andy wants a break from the Lions.
I just want a break from everyone. I'm tired of watching football. My team stinks.
Setting you up schedule-wise. Tonight, 7 o'clock over at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, Pacers Suns. By the way, Sunday, Pacers Grizzlies. That's an afternoon game. 3 o'clock, Scotty, for that one. So, check out that. That'll not be a night game. And then obviously from a college basketball standpoint, we know IU on the road at Illinois tomorrow at 3, Butler home to Nova tomorrow at 3, and then Purdue, that is 1 o'clock on Sunday against Rutgers. Everybody have a great, great weekend. Thanks for tuning in to the Wake Up Call.
The Ride.